The imposing facade of the university hospital loomed before him, a sterile monolith under a vast, uncaring sky. A diagnosis echoed in his mind, a chilling pronouncement of a rare, unnamed disease. The doctor's words were a heavy shroud, promising a new medical term coined at the expense of his life, a life cruelly truncated to a mere half-year. The words were heavy, the pronouncement left him breathless. He stumbled through the faceless crowds, a ghost already haunting the edges of a world he was soon to depart. Each echoing beep of the crossing signal was a mocking reminder of his limited time, a stark contrast to the years he had diligently toiled, believing his efforts were finally bearing fruit. All his work, the constant grind, felt useless. Someone shoved him, a sharp reprimand to remove himself from the road, a danger he no longer feared. He felt numb, unfazed by the danger. His knees met the cold, unforgiving pavement, the lottery ticket, a symbol of a future now cruelly snatched away, clutched tightly in his hand. What was it all for, especially when he won the lottery jackpot? A desperate plea escaped his lips, a raw, primal scream against the dying light, begging for salvation from an indifferent universe. Anyone he needed to live, he did not want to die. Consciousness returned not as himself, but as something else. A skeletal figure, bald and imposing, stood amidst a scene of otherworldly carnage, a battlefield strewn with the grotesque remains of demonic creatures. He saw them, the monsters, they were closing in. He reveled in the slaughter, a grim satisfaction in his bony grin as he laid waste to his foes. They would die, each and every one of them. The last of the rebellious forces fell, their monstrous forms reduced to lifeless heaps. He saw one of them, charging at him. He dodges and slices the beast. Finally, it was over. He had done it. Time to end it. They fall, the last of them. He watches the monster as it dies. With this, his extermination of the rebellion was complete. From an inferior summon, a mere skeleton, he had ascended, evolving into an undead lich, a sovereign of the demon kind. He had led them to prosperity, rescuing them from the brink of ruin, earning their fervent, if mispronounced, praise. He might not have hair, but he was their king, Isaac. Yet, beneath the accolades and the echoing cheers of King Isaac, a deep-seated resentment simmered. He was Isaac, a name his loyal subjects seemed incapable of uttering correctly. With a dismissive flick of his wrist, he turned his back on them, seeking not their hollow praise, but the fulfillment of a broken promise. His ultimate desire was to reclaim his humanity, to feel the warmth of the sun and the sting of pain, to experience life in its fullest, most visceral form. His journey led him to the divine realm, a celestial court where beings of immense power held court. He could hear them, their sneers and taunts. He approaches them. He had fulfilled his end of the bargain, quelling the factions that challenged their divine authority. Whispers followed him, betraying the gods' disdain and their surprise at his swift success. Their whispers were not lost on him. He heard their treachery, their plan to bind him to eternal servitude. They had promised to restore his humanity, a promise they now seemed reluctant to keep. He pressed them, demanding the fulfillment of their oath. Their suggestion of another task, another errand to further their divine agenda, was met with a chilling grin that stretched across his skeletal visage. They questioned his sanity, his audacity to challenge them, unaware of the depth of his resolve. They dared to mock him. He was a being born of forbidden arts, unburdened by natural laws, unkillable, a threat even to their celestial realm. And if they refused to grant him his humanity, they would face the consequences. Their pleas for time, their desperate attempts to bargain, fell on deaf ears. For their betrayal, he demanded a heavy price, their lives. With a malevolent laugh, he unleashed his fury, a storm of dark energy that consumed the divine court. They screamed. He laughed. But as he reveled in his vengeance, a strange sensation washed over him. His mana, the source of his power, was fading. He could not move. What was this? A voice, smug and self-assured, revealed the source of his sudden weakness. a holy artifact inscribed with his name, capable of immobilizing any being. They spoke of the one whose name was written Isaac. Banished disaster, the highest class holy art, was invoked, sealing his demonic essence within a lowly insect. He railed against the injustice, the indignity of his fate, lamenting his captor's choice of such a repulsive form. Yet, even as he raged, one of the gods questioned his obsession with his lost hair, a query that sparked a desperate act of defiance. They were surprised he could still act. Rather than succumb to this ignoble fate, he chose self-destruction, detonating his remaining power in a blinding explosion. He would rather die than become a bug. They could eat shit. Everything exploded. It hurt. The gods, reeling from the blast, confirmed the success of their spell, the Demon King's soul trapped within the insect. It was done, thank goodness. They had regained their power, their authority secure, but they remained wary, aware that another such threat could arise. They could not let their guard down. A plan was hatched to create a vessel, a saint in the human realm, to act as a bulwark against the demonic forces. They would exterminate every last demon. As for the insolent Demon King, his eternal torment as a bug was deemed a fitting punishment. They would make him pay for all of eternity. Lost in his despair, Isaac found himself in a new, unfamiliar world, bathed in an unusually bright light. He must have lost his mind being tricked by gods. Why was it so bright? He felt warm and damp. Why did he have hands? It was a human body, an infant's form, a stark contrast to the skeletal figure he had been. Had the god seal faltered? He was hailed as a saint, a holy one, his awakening celebrated by those around him. Yet, their words held a sinister undertone, a wish for his continued slumber. He was human, but who were these people, and what was their role in his new life? A sense of unease settled upon him as they spoke of their duties, their need for him to return to sleep, forever this time. A bottle filled with a strange liquid was offered, a means to ensure his eternal rest. He had to wait. Was he supposed to die again? A man offered a bottle filled with a strange liquid, a means to ensure his eternal rest. He had to act fast. He swatted the bottle away. He glared at them. They were trying to put him to sleep, forever. He would not drink it, no matter what they tried. They questioned his refusal, surprised by the infant's resistance. He was human, but how? They called him Isaac, a name that sparked a flicker of recognition. Was it his name? Isaac? No, Isaac? That was it. Isaac was the other pronunciation of his name, Isaac. When they had used the spell, banished disaster, they had written Isaac. That was why he was not sealed. He was reincarnated into a new body with the same name. They failed, and now he escaped their grasp, leaving them bewildered and struggling to contain the surprisingly strong infant. They forced the vile concoction down his throat, a disgusting vegetable juice that triggered a strange sensation. He could feel something, an ominous presence entering his body. The scene shifted to the opulent halls of the Holy Empire Hellicentral East Temple. A high-ranking official, a bishop, approached, his demeanor one of calculated ambition. He spoke of a baby, a saint candidate, whose demise was imminent. The emperor of the Holy Empire Hella, Alexander Heathcliff Hella, appeared, his presence commanding respect and deference. He looked regal, as an emperor should. The officials greeted their emperor, their words laced with a hint of trepidation. The bishop explained his purpose, the need to greet the saint candidate of House Asura, a holy figure whose presence was required. It was his duty as a bishop. The emperor dismissed the notion that the saint's presence was a burden, his gaze sharp and knowing. The bishop, sensing an undercurrent of suspicion, wondered if something had gone wrong, something related to the saint candidate's care. A commotion erupted, a frantic announcement about the young master's unusual behavior. The young master was. They rushed towards the source of the disturbance, the emperor leading the way. What happened to the young master? A maid exclaimed in shock at the young master's unexpected vitality. The emperor was shocked. The infant, once on the brink of death, was now thriving, his chubby cheeks and bright eyes a testament to his newfound health. He had consumed an impossible amount of the strange vegetable juice, baffling the officials. It was not just juice, it was holy poison. A poison that should have been lethal. A few minutes ago, he felt something enter his body. He could feel something. This was how he felt as a baby. It was the holy poison. It was a devastating poison that destroys the holy power of the members of the clergy. However, this poison was made from the mana of demons, perfect for a former demon king. This was amazing. He could eat all the baby food he wanted. The infant's joyous cries filled the room. His demands for more of the poisonous concoction surprising and perplexing those present. They were happy to give him more as he drank. It was a perfect mana absorption. Now, what should he do from now on? He needed to focus. He was in the unconscious world. At the deepest part of it, the source. He would create a mana core. This was a safe place. He began to gather the mana he absorbed, shaping it into a core. He needed to put the mana he absorbed into the mana core. He needed a mana core to use magic, but would it explode? A mana core was supposed to be one of the 3 primary colors, but this was white. Why was it white? The color was not the problem. How could this much power be present in a core that was not fully formed? This was beyond his expectations. The power was immense. Just how many blessings were crammed into this young body? If he grew up well, he might be an even greater monster than he imagined. He felt a surge of power. Isaac survive. The desperate desire engraved deep within his soul, survival. In the end, that became the genesis of the Skeleton King, and he was able to create special original buffs and skills. And Isaac, those spells were inherited by this body. They wondered if he was finally dead. He was not dead yet. He was alive and well. He wanted more bottles, even stronger ones. Back to the present, it was a relief that nothing bad happened. Although he was nearly assassinated, nothing bad happened. Maybe he ate too much. No, he could not afford to be suspicious. He should just smile and act like he had no idea. What was with this bastard? He should be dying, coughing up blood, but instead, he was laughing. A few days prior, at the headquarters of the Holy See, a man scoffed at the notion of a saint possessing the Holy Empire. He dismissed the noble families as pesky, declaring their children to be saints. Another man, a bishop, assured him that they were dealing with the other saint candidates. The first man, a cardinal, mentioned an unpleasant rumor he had heard. They said a saint candidate appeared from House Asura, the emperor's right hand. There was nothing they could do about them. The cardinal shattered his wine glass, spilling its contents. He callously remarked that the saint candidate probably died before they arrived, but he needed to verify the corpse. He had acted first to ensure his death. The saint could only come from his house, Barrett. He was told the baby would be dead. So why was he still alive? This couldn't be happening. The emperor found the situation interesting, noting the child's shiny platinum blonde hair, the same color as the Holy Empire's founder. The bishop tried to intervene, but the emperor continued, suggesting that the child looked even closer to God than the current pope. So he was the emperor. He must be the final saint candidate. The baby was the saint candidate. No wonder they kept going saint. The emperor had taken a liking to the child, and the bishop realized he couldn't let this continue. He requested permission to inspect the child, citing something odd. There was no way a baby could finish that vegetable juice. What was so strange about a saint candidate eating monk food? How could he, the demon king, be the saint candidate? It was strange, but he was allowed to inspect the child until someone from House Ashwa arrived. The demonic energy he couldn't digest. Was he busted? The emperor noticed something. He sensed demonic energy from the child. How strange. He noticed. This child might be a fake candidate bearing mana. He must have an inquisitor investigate him immediately. How dare they speak of a saint candidate that way? There was no need for concern. The Pope had already selected the child from House Barrett as the saint. The child from his own house as the saint. How shameless. So that was why he was trying to get rid of him. Now then, he ordered the priests to bring an inquisitor. Wait. House Ashwa was the imperial family's closest ally. He suggested reassessing the child at a later date. He understood. He had spoken with the Pope, who mentioned that he would hold the ceremony of investiture for the crown prince only after the saint selection. So he planned to refuse to officially recognize his son unless he agreed with his saint choice. Was this the Holy See's intention? Those petty sons of bitches. To be honest, he didn't want to remain a saint candidate. It was too risky, and his true identity could get revealed. Otherwise, they could inspect the child right now, using their holy exorcism art. Fine, if he was truly human, then he would not be harmed, but if he was a demon, he would be exterminated. He could not let them do that. Time to play along. But if he was a demon, he would be exterminated. That light, could it be holy power? The boy must truly be the saint. That couldn't be. He sensed some holy power from him, but what was this? It hurt. He continued to attack the bishop, using the bottles as weapons. He was relentless in his attack. This was definitely mana. Such brilliant light. He would make the bottle even tougher with strengthening magic and give him one last hit while pretending to be an innocent baby. The bishop must be admiring his holy power. What was this? Every time he used mana, he sensed a faint amount of holy power as well. Mana and holy power were incompatible and couldn't normally be used together. This must have something to do with that white mana core. He was shocked. He pledged with everything this baby was a heretic. They must immediately use the holy exorcism art. He was a slimy piece of shit. He didn't plan on going this far, but oh well. Would you look at that? He was hiding something quite interesting here. It was a totem. He was shocked at the discovery. It was an artifact that utilized the characteristics of demons, who eat corpses of other demons to absorb their mana. A sealed high-ranking demon's corpse, in other words, a totem. He was keeping this totem on him at all times to use against demons if he ever encountered them. How did this baby know about his totem? The bishop tried to escape. He could not believe it. This was all because he kept coming after him. Here are the consequences of his actions. He snapped his fingers. The bishop screamed. As the demonic energy erupts, you filthy casual. The emperor accused Bishop Martha Barrett of his actions, questioning his sanity for letting a demon loose in the temple. The bishop, in his defense, claimed that it was the baby who threw the totem, an object used to seal a demon beast, and questioned how it came back to life. The emperor ordered all forces to protect the young lord from the wicked demon beast and the bishop. The bishop was shocked and confused. He laughed, knowing it was a joke. The soldiers were ready to see how good the bishop was. The demon within the bishop emerged, commanding them to kill the saint. He was confused. The demon was still commanding them to kill the saint. The soldiers prepared to protect the young lord. He wondered what was wrong with that thing and why it was trying to attack him when he saved its life. Still, the paladins should be able to protect him. They struggled against the demon's power, questioning if the bishop was really a paladin. The demon continued its assault, urging them to save the captured king. He should probably subjugate it first. No one should notice him using magic in a situation like this. Why was everyone trying to kill him in this life? Even though he was the one who revitalized them. He managed to subdue the demon, surprising everyone with his power. They were shocked. Could he be the skeleton king? He was confused. He used his holy power to fend off the demon. The emperor was surprised. The demon was being fended off by the holy power. It was trying to escape. That was definitely holy power. Young Lord Isaac drove a greater demon out. It was amazing for someone so young. As expected of the young lord. This was definitely holy power. How did he do it? He had run out of mana. Could it be that this strange body was turning his mana into holy power? How was he supposed to accumulate mana then? The Holy Empire already lacked mana. He was grabbed and told not to do that. That baby used the powers of demonkind. How dare he crawl into the Holy Empire? He would prove it to the emperor by uncovering his real identity with an exorcism. That was enough. How dare he accuse an innocent saint candidate and let a greater demon loose before the imperial knights? He would not let this matter go, even if they were from the Holy See. If the emperor was suspicious, they would soon find out about the infiltrator. If that happened, the Holy See could also be in trouble. He had to take responsibility, even if he had to die, to save the lives of his family. That was why he had to kill the saint candidate of House Ashwa. This damn bastard was finally showing his true colors. Did he really think he could kill him with something like this? Wait, he didn't have any mana left. He was attacked by a holy, wolf-like creature, who dared to try to lay their hand on the direct lineage of Ashwa. The sound of swords clashing filled the air. It was Blue Faith, the Ashwa Knights. The seventh son of House Ashua, Rely Ashua, had arrived. He ordered the immediate execution of the bishop. He was told to unhand him and not to lay his dirty Ashua hands on him. Ashua, he felt like he had heard that before. He was told to show his manners. Greetings to the young master of House Ashua. They apologized for being late and commented on how they were better than the Imperial Knights. It wasn't much, but they brought a little present for him. Was it gold, a gold bar? It was a figurine of the Skeleton King being beheaded. He looked at it confused. They also had one where the Skeleton King was being burned to death, and another where the Saintess was crushing the Skeleton King. The young master was so cute. So cute. How was he supposed to survive in a crazy house like this? The young master liked it. He liked it so much that he was crying. They marveled at how much the young lord enjoyed the figurine, his cries a testament to his delight. How was he supposed to survive in this crazy family? He remembered the name Ashua, the saintess who had come to end him in a previous life. She was the 45th saintess XO Ashua, no the 61st saintess, Ox Ashua. They were all named Ashua something. Not only was he a saint candidate, but he was also part of the saintess family. What wrongs did he commit in his past life? Damn these Ashuas. They were accused of being heretical and bringing a creature into the temple. They were going to uncover its identity. To think they would bring that monster there, Ashua had gone insane. It would end the Ashua bloodline. He was struck down and told to be grateful for the benevolence of Ashua that spared his neck after spouting that nonsense. He was useful, being slashed just because he insulted his family. Did he have the confidence to take on the Holy See? He told the young lord he had only heard something terrible, and that he should only listen to and see good things. He remembered now, the blue Eshuas, they were pretty strong. His subordinates would freak out whenever they saw the blue ones. The Skeleton King's neck goes drop, drop. They were told to stop it already. It seemed he owed the boy a debt. He asked if he should tell the head of the house that the Imperial Palace wanted to raise the boy. His jokes were too much. Was he being scouted by the Imperial Palace? The Holy Empire would target the boy, both internally and externally. While it was true that Ashua was powerful, did the blue faith of the present have what it took to protect the child? What was he talking about? The Pope, especially, would disapprove of the boy. His hair color was symbolic of the ancestors of the Holy Empire. Furthermore, the Skeleton King seemed to be after him. But he was the Skeleton King. Why would he be after himself? He apologized, explaining that the child was of the Ashua bloodline, so he must be raised by Ashuas. The Pope and the Skeleton King, Ashua could deal with it. If they were able to meet the Skeleton King again, the previous Saintess Melissa would be happy. How could he leave the direct descendant of the Saintess Melissa to the Imperial Palace? Wait, Melissa? The Melissa that he fought right before he went to the Divine Realm? The crazy Saintess that was the toughest to deal with. So he was a saint candidate born in the Saintess family, and on top of that, he was Melissa's direct descendant. Why was his life like this? What was a Saintess? The gods that lost to the Skeleton King every time wanted to win so badly. So they created a final weapon with all their efforts. A mage sent by the gods to smite evil. The lion of the battlefield that wields holy light. The greatest light of the Holy Empire. And the highest-ranking knight. Due to the overwhelming power of the Saintess, people believed that the Skeleton King had seen his final days. Her attack and defense were close to that of the gods. She had cockroach-level survival, self-destructed if needed, got stronger with every generation, was a goddess of beauty, and had a very long life. However, the Skeleton King was merciless. He had never killed a Saintess, and it wasn't good for him anyway. If a Saintess died, and the holy power went back to the gods, they could just send an upgraded, next version Saintess. But the last Saintess, Melissa, was really strong. He almost died. And that Melissa was his ancestor. The Saintess lived only for the destruction of the Skeleton King. Ashua produced those Saintesses and carried out the will of the gods. They were a proud family. Ashua had the ability to protect this child. He was right. Numerous Saintesses had been martyred by the Skeleton King. He didn't kill a single one. The Skeleton King once banished a Saintess to a labyrinth because he thought she wasn't good enough to fight. He let her go. Was it his fault she was bad with directions? 5 of them died of stress-related diseases, They should have gone to the hospital then. It was okay. They were thankful that he was born, and they only wished one thing from him: that he didn't grow up to be like the terrible Skeleton King. Parents that he didn't know. He was sorry that he was a bad person. He was asked to consider it again, as it had been 150 years since the Skeleton King had been sealed away. Was it that long? In that case, Melissa should have died a long time ago. She was 50 when they last fought. The demons had become more powerful in the meantime. The saint was a great asset for the Holy Empire to increase its power, so the boy was important to the imperial palace as well. Furthermore, there was no saintess in Ashwa currently. It had been a year since the saintess gave birth to the boy and disappeared with the father. His mother was the saintess. That may be true, but the matriarch still lived, and Ashwa could still protect the boy. Okay, let's get all the surprises out of the way now. He couldn't be more surprised than finding out his mother was a saintess. Wasn't Dame Melissa currently out to destroy the Skeleton King's subordinates? She would return soon, and the matriarch was expecting her grandson as well. He was over 200 years old. Why was he still alive? Didn't he feel bad? It would take a lot of time before she was back, and the boy seemed a little weird. Was he okay? Would he be okay if he found out his greatest enemy was still alive? If he was found out by Melissa, he would be smited on the spot. Other people might be okay, but Melissa was just that dangerous. So, to survive, he wanted to go with them. He wanted to go to the Imperial Palace as well, but he was just being clingy. The Imperial Palace could provide a lot for the young lord. Ashwa may be experienced in producing saintesses, but they had no experience in raising a saint, a boy. This child would become an exorcist knight that would vanquish evil, and Ashwa was a family that produced the greatest exorcist knights. He was the first ever saint, so the Imperial Palace had no experience either. The Imperial Palace was better, but he would remain in Ashwa. They were told to calm down, or the young lord would be ripped in half. He wanted to go to the Imperial Palace. He didn't want to die. And the light that reacted with the origin of survival. That light had been coming from the Emperor from the start. That meant his chances of survival were higher with the Emperor. He couldn't miss this opportunity. It was a wise choice, young lord. What was this? He was innocent. That thing used mana. It was definitely a spawn of the demons. Holy power was from the gods themselves. Were they saying that the gods had given holy power to a lowly demon? It was surely mana. How could he confuse mana and holy power? The holy city called that kind of talk, Your Eminence, blasphemy. They would form an assassination squad again. No, there was no need. The emperor would want to take the child. There would be plenty of opportunities in the Imperial Palace. He would not survive this time. The conspirators discussed their plan, acknowledging that the infant will be taken by the emperor regardless. They decide to bide their time and aim for the child within the royal palace, confident that he won't survive. Isaac, still a baby, is shown sleeping soundly, unaware of the danger. He awakens abruptly, sensing something amiss. He decides he must go to Ashwa. A carriage is shown traveling at high speed, as the conspirators wonder why the sudden change of plans. A flashback reveals a bright light emanating from Isaac's room a few days prior. The Emperor is shown holding Isaac, commenting on the strength of the light and how Ashwa isn't a good environment for raising a child. Rely counters that they are not a house that only houses mana cores, and that they are the closest to demons. He questions if the origin of survival is shining, noting it is the most precious thing. They have only it is the body of the Skeleton King. Isaac, shocked, wonders how they have his former body. Rely is surprised, having expected this to be the first topic of discussion. Isaac shows off his ability to communicate, and then expresses his desire to go to Ashwa. Rely is taken aback, but Isaac states his name. Isaac reflects on how this journey will help him regain his old body, which is refined and has accumulated enough mana to fight against the gods. He believes that following his uncle to Ashwa will benefit his survival. As they travel, Rely and Isaac discuss why the Holy See is still pursuing Isaac. The paladin explains that the gods have given a prophecy that the saint will be taken in as the son of a god, meaning he will become the next pope. This explains why House Barrett was so desperate to birth the saint. The pope is the strongest cleric, using rank 10 holy spells, and is practically the king of all clerics and paladins, with power rivaling the emperor's. House Barrett had birthed the Pope for thousands of years, but now that the Pope position will be taken by a saint, they are understandably upset. Other houses are also trying to birth a saint. As they arrive at the duchy, they are met with a problem. Guards block their entrance, refusing to let them pass despite recognizing the insignia of House Ashwa. A higher-ranking official arrives on the scene, revealing that they need to eliminate the child who inherited the blood of the saintess. Demons suddenly attack, questioning if this is the fault of a new demon king. The demons proclaim that their glorious king has commanded that all saints and saintesses are to be killed. A new demon king has indeed taken over under the command of the great skeleton king, Lord Isaac. They will kill the saint. Isaac is shocked and confused. The demons offer to spare their lives if they hand over the child. A paladin is struck down, and another berates him for his cowardice. An Ashwan knight vows that they will not die an easy death for speaking such nonsense in front of him. He rallies his troops, declaring that Ashwa will destroy all evil and chase them to the ends of hell. To destroy them, including the wicked skeleton king who forces his subordinates to their deaths just because he wishes to escape mortality. A demon retorts, insulting the skeleton king, Isaac. The knight is struck and apologizes to the young master. Isaac, confused, wonders who is impersonating him. The paladin retreats with Isaac, asking him to wait. He creates a powerful barrier that not even high-ranking demons can break. However, Isaac realizes that this also means nothing inside can get out. He activates his survival origin and unleashes his magic. He calls out to the observing one. Hoping it can hear him, the entity answers back, greeting him excitedly. Isaac, relieved, thought he was done for. The observing one, a sentient detection magic, explains that he was created to avoid keeping up detection magic during fights. It compliments Isaac's wickedness and congratulates him for stealing the body of an infant. Isaac is annoyed, but tells it to focus on finding enemies. The observing one initiates enemy detection, scanning a 100-meter radius. It reports a total of 88 enemies, all demons, but assures Isaac that they won't be able to lay a finger on him. The paladin is shocked by the number of demons. Isaac decides to deal with them himself, even if he has to use all the mana he has accumulated. Preparing for the worst, the enemy count quickly drops to 51, then 31, then 13. The paladin notices something approaching and orders a defensive formation. The enemy count drops to 4, and a demon urges his comrade to work together to kill the saint. The observing one proclaims glory to the skeleton king. They are shocked by the sudden turn of events. The observing one gleefully announces that there are no enemy forces left. It detects a shadow lich, which angrily demands who dared to touch its king. Isaac is left bewildered by the entire situation. A shadow lich addresses the infant Isaac as its king and master, questioning how anyone could dare trap him within a baby's body. The lich's devotion to Isaac is described as twisted, stemming from gratitude for being liberated. The lich threatens the paladins, who are confused as they can't understand its language. Isaac realizes that the lich has recognized him as the skeleton king, impressed by its loyalty. The paladin leader orders his knights to prepare for battle, but Isaac warns him about the lich's sudden appearance. Isaac expresses concern over his food, the highly concentrated mana source, and the paladin leader urges him to be patient, promising a quick resolution. The lich expresses its joy at being recognized by its master, while the paladin leader notices the demon's sinister intent. The lich advances towards Isaac, worrying the paladin leader. It expresses its pleasure at gaining Isaac's attention, and Isaac, concerned about his mana, orders it to break the barrier. The lich complies, shattering the barrier with ease. The paladins are shocked, and the paladin leader recognizes the technique used as totemization. Isaac praises the lich's work, but warns it not to make a mess. The lich is confused and attacks the paladins again. The paladin leader wonders if Isaac just totemized a demon, and the paladin holding Isaac confirms his amazement. They discuss how Isaac used a holy art that only saintesses or cardinals are capable of, but Isaac denies using holy arts, stating it was magic. They acknowledge that it looked like the holy art of totemization, and that it's unusual for a child capable of such an advanced holy art to not exhibit any holy power. The paladin holding Isaac comments on how people tend to shine brightest when in peril. He also notes that the demon went straight for Isaac, suggesting that it instinctively felt that Isaac was a threat and prioritized him. The paladin holding Isaac expresses his certainty that Isaac is the saint. The paladin leader agrees, acknowledging that the demons came for the child and that even if he's not the saint, he's special. He wonders why Isaac had to be a boy, explaining that due to the Skeleton King's curse, the men of House Ashwa had decided. The commander of the Azure Knights declares that he will protect Isaac, the future of House Ashwa. The narrative shifts to the perspective of the paladin leader, who reflects on the situation. He realizes that it was foolish to be afraid of the Skeleton King's curse when the child could elevate the Ashwa name. He picks up Isaac, promising to teach him many things and raise him into a fine paladin. Isaac is more interested in getting his body back. The paladin leader promises to find a way to save Isaac, even if he is fated for a short life, so that his name will be known across the continent. Isaac is uninterested. The paladin leader vows to teach Isaac how to curse the wicked Skeleton King when they get home. Isaac is exasperated by the Ashuas. They arrive at the Ashwa ducal mansion, a grand and expensive-looking estate. Isaac is unimpressed, comparing it unfavorably to his own castle and resources. He laments how he had to be frugal to feed his own people. The observing one agrees, noting that even selling a few statues from the mansion could buy them 10 new castles. The paladin leader introduces the Ashwa mansion to Isaac, calling it the continent's birthplace of exorcism. He points out statues of people fighting the Skeleton King and explains that Isaac will grow up to be like them. Isaac is horrified by the anti-Skeleton King propaganda being taught to children. He decides to join the Holy Empire, make the Emperor his puppet, and turn the Empire into the Isaac Empire. The observing one mocks his pettiness, and Isaac tells it to keep scouting. The observing one obeys. They admire the numerous mana cores displayed in the mansion, with Isaac expressing his shock at the sheer number and wondering how many demons were killed to obtain them. As they continue their journey, they arrive at their destination. The paladin leader orders that his room be rearranged, as Isaac will be staying with him. However, he is informed that they have been ordered to escort Isaac to the annex. The paladin leader is outraged, as the fifth young master had ordered that Isaac not be allowed in the main building. He questions why Isaac should be sent to the cursed place where people die, realizing that this is a result of family infighting. Isaac is nonchalant, stating that he doesn't need to be in the annex when he can live in the big mansion. The observing one points out that the mana cores are in the annex. The paladin leader refuses to let his nephew stay in the ghost house and orders the person to step aside. He promises to read Isaac bedtime stories from the holy scriptures of the saintesses battling against the Skeleton King and teach him exorcism spells specifically devised for the Skeleton King. Isaac is horrified at the thought of being exorcised. Suddenly, they are interrupted by the arrival of the fifth son of House Ashwa, Goel Ashwa. Goel had ordered that the kid be sent to the annex, and he questions the paladin leader's defiance. Isaac is startled, calling him son of a bitch. Goel orders the paladin to put Isaac down and send him to the annex. The paladin retorts, questioning if Goel is serious about banishing a child of the direct line of House Ashwa to the annex. He expresses his belief that this idiot doesn't want Isaac in the house. Isaac, in response, demands to be let go, stating his desire to go to the annex and be read the exorcism ritual of the Skeleton King. Goel mocks the paladin for bringing in someone even dirtier than the Skeleton King, and continues to bicker about direct lines. Isaac is confused, wondering if the cleric is a thug. The paladin decides to ignore Goel and proceed to the annex to drain the mana core. Goel, however, interprets this as an attempt to paint Isaac as a cursed child and push him out of the succession race. Isaac is taken aback by this revelation. He realizes the value of the house and its resources, understanding that becoming the saint and ultimately the pope is necessary for his revenge against the gods. Goel, in turn, is accused of being the one who pushed Isaac out, with reports of demons appearing to capture him being used as evidence of a curse. A paladin defends Isaac, stating that he exorcised the demons and possesses the holy power of the saint. Goel dismisses this, suggesting they simply make Isaac show his skills if they believe he is a saint. Isaac and the Observing One discuss the possibility of summoning a meteor, but the Observing One advises against it. Goel proposes a test to see if Isaac can revive the symbol of the house, a divine tree that died after being infused with demon essence. He believes that if Isaac is truly a saint candidate, he should be able to revive it easily. The paladin questions Goel's seriousness, while Isaac reflects on the state of Melissa's children, with the eldest missing and the fifth being a dickhead. He is startled when the Observing One asks him what's wrong, and he notices it floating in front of him. The paladin urges Isaac to grab the Observing One, which he does, surprising everyone. The paladin explains that it hasn't even been 70 years since the tree died, yet they are asking a child who can barely understand words to save it. Goel is shocked to see the divine tree revive before his eyes. The tree, once dead and withered, is now shown healthy and vibrant. The paladin expresses his disbelief, attributing it to the fruit of House Ashua's prayers. Goel agrees, stating that the head of the house has also mulled over this problem. However, he also points out the lack of proof. The paladins celebrate, believing that Isaac must have done it. Goel is skeptical, suggesting that someone else must have helped, but the paladins propose that it was Isaac's exorcism and purification. Goel dismisses them, and Isaac, through the Observing One, claims that he simply drained the demon residue from the tree's roots. The paladin asks about the tree, but Isaac denies doing anything. He expresses regret over eating the manna, and the Observing One demands that he vomit it up. The paladins are now convinced that Isaac revived the tree. Goel, however, remains unconvinced, accusing the paladin of scheming to make Isaac the saint candidate. He also questions the presence of another saint candidate in the house. The Observing One asks who this other candidate is, and Isaac dismisses the person as unimportant. Goel continues to rant, revealing that the eldest brother, who had supposedly brought Isaac in, had disappeared. He also mentions that Isaac is a half-breed taken in from outside, while the eldest brother's wife is certainly a saintess. The paladin asks if Goel can be sure that Isaac is of the saintess blood, to which Goel responds that he does look similar. He then suggests that the saintess should become the breeding mare for the house, which earns him a slap from the paladin. The paladin states that brothers grow by fighting each other. Isaac reflects that he has learned a lot of useful information. He is glad that the family isn't tight-knit, as it will be easier for him to take over. He plans to destroy the house. The Observing One questions his logic, given that the house's ruin would also affect him, and he retorts. The scene shifts to a council meeting, where the topic of discussion is the siring of a boy. The second wife of Eli Ashwa, Henno Ashwa, and current acting head of the house, enters and silences everyone. She questions why Rely brought Isaac to the main family, despite the branch family saying they would care for him. Isaac realizes that she was the one who wanted him sent to the annex. Goel steps in, explaining that the acting head of the house is questioning why Rely is answering her. It is revealed that Isaac's father has vacated his position and is currently gone. Henna laments the situation, citing the noise surrounding saint candidates. Rely expresses his regret, and a messenger arrives to inform them that Isaac has revived the divine tree. Goel dismisses this as a coincidence, but another person agrees with Rely. Henna, however, points out the lack of proof. Isaac, observing the situation, reaches out to touch the divine tree's energy. He offers to show them proof, surprising everyone. He channels the energy of the divine tree, shocking the onlookers. He then channels the energy into a crystal, providing tangible proof of his connection to the divine tree. The council members are shocked to learn that Isaac removed the mana gnawing at the divine tree. They are incredulous that a newborn could have dealt with the mana on the tree, but it is pointed out that this is the only explanation, as the mana was subdued right before their eyes. The difficulty of the exorcism art required to save the tree is emphasized, with Goel expressing his disbelief that a mere lump of flesh could possess such power. Rely defends Isaac, stating that he instinctively followed his instincts and exorcised the mana. He highlights that Isaac achieved something in mere moments that no one in House Ashwa had managed in 70 years. Goel, however, remains skeptical, fearing that such an absurd tale would make a mockery of the house. He further casts doubt on Isaac's lineage, suggesting that he might be the son of a beggar rather than a true Ashwa. Rely counters by stating that Isaac will one day become the saint, and possibly even the Pope in the future. Isaac silently agrees. Rely then makes the bold claim that Isaac will kill the Skeleton King one day. This statement provokes outrage, with Henna accusing Rely of digging his own grave. She proposes a test to verify Isaac's abilities. She requests the usage of the treasury of holy artifacts. The scene shifts to the Black Forest, northwest of the Holy Empire of Hela. A man is seen battling demons, deeming the task a waste of time. He is greeted by the head of House Ashwa, Eli Ashwa, who asks about the matter at hand. The Sadr informs him that the deputy head has requested permission to use the treasury of holy artifacts, emphasizing that the request is not for the Holy See. He explains that Isaac has saved the divine tree, and the deputy head wants to determine if he is truly the saint. Eli questions the presence of a saint in his house, refusing to allow anyone other than the saintess candidate to be killed. He instructs the Sadr not to engage in pointless infighting. When a woman suggests letting them proceed, Eli acquiesces. They encounter Melissa Ashwa, the matriarch of House Ashwa and a former saintess. She remarks on Isaac's potential and suggests testing all the saint candidates in the treasury. While acknowledging that the child of another house might take home the greatest artifact, she expresses a desire for someone to do just that, as even the greatest saintesses of history could not take them for themselves. She believes that the artifact could be used to track down and kill the Skeleton King. She decides to reward anyone who brings it back, promising a reward that not even the Pope can provide, along with the saintess's heirloom and secret techniques. She declares that she will give everything away to the child who succeeds, that the treasury is described as a place where holy artifacts and secret techniques have been stored for thousands of years. For generations, the saintess was in charge of maintaining it, and House Ashwa was seen as its owner. Only children under the age of 10 could enter, and the treasury was used as the place to hold the first birthday ritual for saintess candidates. Their abilities would be predicted based on what item they brought back from the treasury during the ritual. However, it was a dangerous place where even saintess candidates could easily perish. After years of death and loss beyond its doors, the treasury was eventually sealed away. The observing one expresses its curiosity, and Isaac agrees, excited by the prospect of finding the Skeleton King's body in the treasury. Rely asks if Isaac is excited, and informs him that the matriarch has opened the treasury to all saint candidates. He explains that the children of all 5 great houses will be gathering, even the house of the despicable Pope. Isaac sees this as an opportunity to retrieve his body more easily, as the onlookers will be splitting their attention between everyone. Rely warns Isaac to be careful, as demons captured during war are guarding the treasury. He explains that the danger is due to the presence of these demons. However, Isaac is confident, believing that the demons must be weak if they were captured. He states that he can easily intimidate them, as even rank 8 demons are not difficult to face. Rely and Goel are shocked to learn that a rank 8 demon and a rank 9 dragon are present. Isaac and the observing one are alarmed, questioning why a dragon is in the area where the first birthday ritual for babies is held. The observing one notes that Isaac's knowledge of dragons should help him, but Isaac is terrified, revealing that he used to scam dragons frequently. He estimates that there are probably around 70 of them, and the observing one realizes that these are dragons that Isaac scammed in the past. Isaac decides that he has no other choice but to sneak into the annex and steal all of House Ashwa's war spoils. He believes that this is necessary to defeat the rank 8 demons and the rank 9 dragon that fill the treasury. He plans to steal all their mana cores. The scene opens with a grand, opulent building likely the annex of House Ashwa. Inside, Isaac is seen on the floor, reading a book titled Book of Holy Arts, 10 Ways to Take Apart the Skeleton King. The observing one expresses concern for Isaac's well-being, noting that he looks like he's about to be exorcised. Isaac laments that once he figures out how to wield holy power, he'll be able to learn holy arts easily. The observing one suggests that Isaac use mind control to make them teach him. But Isaac dismisses the idea, not wanting to be accused of being a demon and destroying the Ashwa family. He struggles to grasp the concepts in the book through theory alone. Relai enters, commenting on Isaac's tired appearance. Isaac, in turn, complains about needing more sleep at his age. Relai picks up the book Isaac was reading, and then proceeds to use a recovery holy art on Isaac, much to his delight. Isaac urges Relai to use some attack arts next, but they are interrupted by the observing one, who reminds them that they need to go to the other building. Isaac pretended to sleep, which is quickly dismissed by the adults. As they leave, the observing one comments on Isaac's great family, while Isaac laments the loss of his totem. Relai advises Isaac to store the totem somewhere safe, as it is the first one he has made. Isaac expresses his frustration at having to revive the totem, but Relai is more concerned about displaying it in the best spot. He complains about needing to siphon the mana out of the totem. He decides to siphon the mana core dry, and he and the observing one head off, with the observing one warning that they won't get there until tomorrow if Isaac crawls. Isaac has a plan and instructs the observing one to open the door. However, they find that Relai has locked it with a holy art placed on it. Isaac is frustrated, and the observing one suggests breaking the door, believing that everyone will think it was an attack and rush over. Isaac, however, is reluctant to use magic, as he doesn't want to go crazy. He struggles to find a way out. Suddenly, he is interrupted by a young boy, Shuri Ashwa, the son of Goel Ashwa and a saint candidate of the Ashwa family. Shuri, who is 5 years old, is surprised to see a baby that can't even walk. Isaac, in turn, is shocked that this thing is his rival. The observing one is also surprised, noting that Isaac was hurt. Shuri is arrogant, stating that there's no way a little baby could have made a totem that even he couldn't make. Isaac presents him with a glowing object, and Shuri declares that he will be the one to become a saint. He attempts to attack Isaac with a cursed object, but Isaac easily deflects it, much to Shuri's shock. Isaac then uses the object as a makeshift vehicle to escape. Shuri, enraged, accuses Isaac of gathering holy power to attack him. Isaac retaliates, knocking Shuri to the ground. The observing one praises Isaac's shot, and Isaac orders Shuri to become his ride. Shuri retaliates with a rank 3 holy defense art, boasting that he is the only one his age who can use it. He then unleashes a rank 3 holy attack art, Holy Light, but Isaac absorbs it, thanking Shuri for the meal. Shuri is shocked by the size of Isaac's holy defense art. Isaac explains that he absorbed the attack because Relai didn't teach him how to use it. Shuri is once again attacked, and the observing one questions whether it was okay to kill a direct family member. Isaac dismisses the concern, stating that none of the attacks even hit him. He tells Shuri not to surprise him like that if he can't even hit him. Shuri, however, is determined to defeat Isaac, believing that no matter what holy attack arts Isaac uses, he can't beat a saint candidate like him. The observing one then attacks Shuri, much to Isaac's surprise. The observing one, enraged, questions what Shuri is doing. Isaac defends himself, and the observing one retreats, leaving Shuri terrified. Shuri, recovering from the encounter, demands to know who Isaac is, declaring that no matter what holy attack arts are used, a mere baby cannot defeat a saint candidate like him. He is terrified when the observing one attacks, screaming for it to stop. The observing one angrily questions Shuri's actions, leaving him trembling on the floor. It asks him what he is doing. Isaac, however, is more amused than angry, finding the situation humorous. He taunts Shuri, telling him to carry him and stop wasting time. The young boy, Shuri Ashwa, declares himself as the one destined to be the saint. He expresses his desire to escape his accursed household and become the pope. However, he finds himself being bossed around by a baby, much to his frustration. He is forced to carry Isaac to the annex, despite the observing one warning him to keep moving. The observing one seems to threaten Shuri in the background. Shuri reluctantly complies, while the observing one reminds him that their priority is survival. They arrive at the annex, with Isaac directing Shuri to go left and then right. Shuri wonders where Isaac wants to go so late at night. They stop, and Shuri realizes they are at the Asura mansion's second annex, also known as the Ghost House. He questions why Isaac dragged him there, especially since the clan head had forbidden entry due to numerous deaths. The observing one comments on the presence of at least a few thousand mana, enough to take decades of intense training to obtain. Isaac is excited by the prospect of acquiring so much mana. Isaac wants to go inside, but Shuri protests, reminding him of the adult's warnings. Despite Shuri's pleas, Isaac enters the annex. The interior is messier than Isaac expected. The observing one informs him that the entire building is sealed, with power barriers on every door. He adds that every door has a power barrier cast on it. Shuri suggests they go back, but Isaac starts pulling his hair, causing him pain. Isaac seems to be looking at the portraits of the previous clan heads. This leads Shuri to believe that Isaac is aiming to become the clan head. Shuri asserts that he will be the one to take that position. Suddenly, Isaac breaks the barrier, causing Shuri to panic. Shuri yells at Isaac for destroying their ancestors' paintings, while Isaac blames the lack of a barrier spell on the paintings. The observing one confirms that the barrier is shattered, and Isaac celebrates his success. Isaac tells Shuri to let's go, but Shuri is frustrated with Isaac's destructive behavior. Isaac finds what he's looking for and calls it a jackpot. He tells the observing one to close the doors, leaving Shuri bewildered by Isaac's actions. Isaac dismisses Shuri's concerns, saying that a kid like him wouldn't understand. Isaac sits down, ready to begin something, while Shuri bangs on the door, threatening to snitch on him. He continues to bang on the door. Shuri threatens to tell the adults and get Isaac kicked out, but the adults, including Asura, arrive and ask Shuri why he is there. They approach Shuri. Henna scolds Shuri, saying they explicitly forbade entry into the annex and accuses him of bringing Isaac there. She emphasizes her point. She mentions that many people saw Shuri carrying Isaac, and they found traces of holy attack arts in Isaac's room. Eli confronts Shuri, suggesting that this is all his doing. Shuri admits to using holy attack arts and carrying Isaac, but denies being responsible for the current situation. Eli tells Shuri that he has crossed the line by tormenting a baby, and demands to know where Shuri locked Isaac. He interrogates Shuri. Shuri denies locking Isaac up, claiming that Isaac locked himself in. The adults hear banging from inside the room and ask if Isaac is inside. They wonder if Shuri locked the door on Isaac. The door opens, revealing a crying Isaac. The adults are relieved to see that Isaac is safe. He is safe, though he appears shocked but unharmed. Eli expresses his disappointment in Shuri. He says Shuri should be ashamed of himself. Isaac thanks Eli, and then, with a sinister grin, expresses his gratitude for the meal, having absorbed a century's worth of mana. He explains that there was more than he had expected. He obtained a century's worth of mana in one go. Shuri suddenly shows signs of hypertension, possibly due to the cold or the shock of what happened. With the newly acquired mana, Isaac is now able to use that plan. The scene opens with a grand, opulent mansion bathed in sunlight. Inside, Isaac sits on a table, a large book open in front of him, while the observing one floats nearby. Rely enters, introducing Ashley, a paladin of Asura, who will be taking care of Isaac from now on. Ashley kneels before Isaac, pledging to serve him until her dying breath. Isaac, still absorbing the recent events, wonders if he's being watched because of the incident at the annex. He calls out to Ashley, addressing her as the, and tells her he doesn't need her, dismissing her abruptly. Rely looks on, concerned, while Ashley appears flustered by Isaac's reaction. Isaac then addresses Rely as master, prompting a blush from Ashley, who expresses a desire to pinch his cheeks. She then wonders why there are so many insane people in the family. Rely affectionately calls out to Isaac, presenting him with a gift from his uncle, a ring. The observing one mocks the gift, wondering if Isaac found it on the ground and suggesting that Ashua's wealth has taken a serious hit. Ashley, however, is shocked, recognizing the ring as the Saintess's treasure. Rely explains that he received it from the elders to give to Isaac. Isaac, examining the ring, realizes it's the real thing. The ring that the Saintesses used when fighting him. An elder ring containing a small miracle of the gods. The ring has an unbelievable amount of holy power, but Isaac can currently only use it once or twice. He states he has a way to fix that, a sly look in his eyes. Meanwhile, Goel is seen lurking outside, looking furious. He angrily expresses that his nephew's face gives away the fact that it's real. He asks how he can look at his nephew as if he's going to kill him. He approaches Isaac, feigning affection, and asks if Isaac has gotten used to the house. Has he gotten used to this house? Isaac is visibly disgusted by Goel's insincere display of affection, who is internally seething, thinking that things are getting weird. Goel reveals that he broke the blessing device in the treasury, so Isaac couldn't get the blessing, making the elders give Isaac the Saintess's treasure. Henna explains that Isaac can't receive a blessing, so he needs the ring to make it fair. Shuri, still bitter about the previous encounter, demands to have the ring too, but Henna reminds him that he already received a blessing from the Holy See. She tells him not to be greedy. Goel, frustrated, admits that he was going to pretend to donate the ring to the Holy See and then swipe it for himself. He accuses Isaac of taking it without knowing its value. Goel then tells Rely that he should give Isaac a proper present, not junk, calling the Saintess's item a piece of junk. Rely defends the ring, saying it's an item that has received countless blessings from the Holy See. Goel, however, insists that Isaac is his precious nephew and that he shouldn't give him junk that he won't be able to use. He suggests that Isaac put the ring in the treasury instead, as it will be more useful to him there, adding that even Rely can't get it for Isaac. Isaac, seeing through Goel's manipulation, decides to play along. He tells Rely to leave the old ring to him, and proceeds to throw the ring to Goel, telling him to give it to the dogs. He throws it. He tells him to give it to the dogs. Goel catches the ring, shocked by Isaac's actions. Rely intervenes, questioning Goel's intentions and stating that the ring is 1,000 times more precious than the one Goel gave him. Isaac, with a triumphant grin, picks the ring Goel gave him, much to Goel's dismay. Goel calls Isaac his precious nephew, promising to only give him the best things. Rely and Ashley try to retrieve the ring, but Isaac uses magic to make it impossibly heavy. He makes it heavy. The observing one praises Isaac's resolve to never touch a rat stuff. It suggests retrieving the ring at night, surprising itself by offering to do it. Goel, in a fit of rage, throws the ring and screams in frustration. He screams, wondering how much the ring cost. He eventually calms down, rationalizing that it's fine since Isaac can't use the Elder Ring properly anyway. He adds that there's no way Isaac will activate the ring since it requires absorbing the holy power of 20 people, and estimates that there might be around 10 people at Isaac's first birthday. The next day, the day of the first birthday, many people gather at the mansion. There are 148 saint candidates for 1,000 servants and aristocrats, including ducal houses, dozens of marquis houses, and even the emperor. Even the emperor is here. Other countries have also sent their saint candidates. Isaac and the observing one muse that the gods must have gotten lazy to sprinkle saints all over the place, while Rely is surprised that so many people came, assuming it was a trap. Simon, a friend of Rely's and head of one of the Empire's top 3 merchant guilds, greets Rely. He explains that every family in the Empire is buzzing with excitement, especially since they heard the weak men of Ashua were attending. So they all came, figuring it couldn't be a trap. He adds that with Ashua's matriarch putting up such a prize, even the Pope's house can't resist. This surprises Rely. Rely is shocked to hear that the Pope's house might come, but Simon dismisses it, saying that the high and mighty royals never come to Ashua, as they claim everyone but House Barrett are commoners and despise being around them. A man warns Simon to lower his voice, reminding him that Ashua is hosting and it's not for the Pope's family to interfere. He also adds that they should watch their tongue. He suggests they bring something better than the papal snobs who have their noses in the air, sniffing for something foul. He adds that there's nothing more dangerous than a vulgar friend, prompting Simon to apologize. Cardinal Barrett appears, causing Simon to gulp. He sees Cardinal Barrett. Barrett, with a sinister smile, expresses his hope that the weak boy of Asura, who is hosting the first birthday, will be able to bring something from the treasury to save face. He says he was curious to see the Asura child who claimed to be a saint candidate, but he couldn't find the boy. He sees this as a good opportunity, praying that Asura's saint candidate will elevate the Asura name. Rely wonders if they've fallen into the Holy See's trap, noticing the increase in the number of saint candidates from 75 to 148 in the last week. He concludes that the Holy See must have ignored all of the unfit candidates' claims, as everyone wants their child to be a saint candidate. He realizes that if those children are put into the treasury, they will make quick work of the weakest competitor, and that they may use that chaos to execute a sinister plan. Ashley realizes with a gasp that Isaac is in danger. The coat of arms of House Asura is prominently displayed, featuring a star and swords. A historical text describes the boys born into the Asura family as useless, despite their exceptional looks and family reputation. They are useless. However, they are seen as tantalizing prey by those who want to possess the superior Asura DNA and those who want to gain favor with the papal house, which hates the house of the saintess. Many hands are reaching toward the light. A shadowy figure advises to play a little with the Asura boy, suggesting that he doesn't have to be dead, just unable to do anything. The plan involves mixing drugs into his water and using holy poison to make him a laughingstock in front of everyone and to show the world that the Asura child can never be a saint. Isaac drinks the drugged water, commenting on how killer it is. He takes another drink. The other children are scared, wondering how many drinks Isaac has had. Isaac demands more, causing the other children to cry and express their fear. One of the conspirators wonders if they used the wrong bottles, as the drink was supposed to give Isaac diarrhea. They decide to keep going, but are confused as to why Isaac keeps drinking the drug drinks. Goel confronts Isaac, telling him not to sully the Asura name and questioning how a saint candidate can't spot drugged water. He grabs a bottle and orders Isaac to stop drinking. He offers a different bottle to Isaac, claiming there's no poison in it. However, Isaac throws the bottle away, asking for the one that is poison. A girl tries to stop him, warning that he'll die if he drinks it, but Isaac insists on having the holy poison. He drinks it. The observing one comments on Isaac's strong immunity to poison, while another child wonders why he's looking for poison bottles. The child continues to wonder. A child suggests that Isaac is testing the poison because he thinks it's dangerous to others. Shuri is confused. Another child, Kina Barrett, the direct grandson of the papal house, appears, surprising the others, as they didn't know the papal house would be participating. They are surprised. They wonder why the papal house is in the saintess's treasury, realizing that Kina is likely to win. Kina is revealed to be the one who has been chosen internally to be the saint. It's noted that all the popes, no matter how far back, were dirty brown, and they wonder if the Barrett family can produce a pure hair color like Kina's. However, it's stated that it's not odd that the papal house is in the saintess's treasury, as the pope is the head of all clergymen, and therefore the saintess's treasury is the property of the papal house. That is why he is here. Kina declares that he is there to take what rightfully belongs to him. Isaac comments on Kina's monstrous nature, noting that just considering his holy power, he has already surpassed bishops. He muses that this is why Kina is Saint Candidate Zero. The others are criticized for trying to make the host look bad and for being substandard. As Kina walks away, it's speculated that the power of the saintess is protecting Isaac and that it must run in the family. Kina heals Isaac, who had pretended to be hurt, surprising everyone, as they wonder if he can already cure poison. They also remark on the quantity of his holy power, estimating it to be at least rank 5. Isaac realizes that Kina wants to use him to show off his power, and proceeds to attack Kina, causing his holy power to disappear. His holy power disappears. Kina is shocked, realizing that his holy power was disrupted and that Isaac is stronger than him. He can't believe it. He angrily calls Isaac a schwa trash. Isaac taunts Kina, who retaliates by trying to smack Isaac with a bottle. The others defend Isaac, questioning what Kina gains from terrorizing a young child. Kina asks if they think they can protect Isaac, threatening that they would have taken a bottle to the head if not for him. The others reassure Kina that Isaac is just a baby and was simply surprised. Kina leaves, telling the Ashwa kids to get whatever little toys they can to save some face for their family. He mocks them. He declares that the greatest treasure of the treasury is his anyway, adding that Ashwa will never get close to the body of the Skeleton King. Shuri is annoyed by Kina, and Isaac is furious, asking what Kina said about the body of the Skeleton King. He furiously asks again. He shakes Shuri. Shuri explains that the matriarch said that the one who brings the Skeleton King's body will get a special technique. Isaac, realizing that Melissa's name was mentioned, is shocked. He is shocked to see the Skeleton King's body tied up with a red ribbon in front of him. The children are gathered in the treasury. Isaac is among them, looking determined. A flashback reveals Isaac's past life as the Skeleton King, where he spent hundreds of years cultivating mana in his old body. He muses that reaching rank 10 would be child's play if he could get his hands on it. He wonders how he's supposed to sneak his body out when all of these kids are aiming for it. He decides to knock out anyone who gets in his way. Kina Barrett addresses the group, announcing their departure and instructing them to listen carefully. They will be departing soon. He explains that the treasury is a holy place where the previous Sanuses trained. Shuri interrupts, expressing his boredom with the history lesson. Isaac sneaks away, prompting Shuri to question his actions. Shuri is surprised when a wall suddenly moves. He is shocked. He calls out to Isaac, warning him that the area is off-limits and that traps will activate throughout the entirety of the treasury. He continues to warn him. He warns him again. He emphasizes his point. The other children panic and try to escape. Meanwhile, in the Ashwa mansion ballroom, Rely and Ashley hope that Isaac is doing well. They are connected to the inside of the treasury through a magical communication device. The person using the device reports live with his summon, which is currently following Isaac in third place. He announces that the door to the first chamber has been opened and the candidates are entering. Rely is surprised that it's already happening. The person reporting announces that Amon Aegis is currently in third place, exciting his father. He then announces that Shuri Ashwa is in second place, surprising and also exciting Goel. He then announces that Isaac is in first place, shocking Rely and Ashley. Isaac is shown swiftly navigating the treasury, much to everyone's surprise. Shuri warns Isaac not to go further, as he will only activate additional traps. He warns him again. The other children are crying and running away. Shuri questions Isaac's actions, stating that the trials of the treasury are hard enough, and now they have to avoid anti-intruder traps as well. He emphasizes his point. Isaac finds the gate to the second chapter, and the observing one congratulates him, saying that thanks to the mana cores Isaac absorbed in the annex, it has gone up a rank. It encourages Isaac to work harder. The observing one tells Isaac to grab Shuri, surprising him as he didn't know it would be this hard. Another child notes that this is why Sanuses are so strong. Shuri is revealed to be the brat from Ashwa, with his real name being Shu, or something similar. The others are shocked that he's flying, assuming his house taught him ahead of time, but they realize that's not the case. The observing one is flying against Shuri's will, and he asks to be let down. The observing one informs Isaac that it has secured his informant, who is Shuri. Shuri warns Isaac that while he made it past the first chamber's trial of selection, starting from the second chamber, he can die if he's not careful. He explains that the trials were designed to teach Sanuses how to overcome fear and choose the right path. He advises to never attack the enemies in the second chamber, no matter what. He reiterates. He explains that this is the only way to get past the second chamber, as they will disappear after 3 minutes. Isaac realizes it's a test of patience, but Shuri warns that people have died there. Isaac decides to just keep from attacking, finding the idea of waiting 3 minutes to be nothing. They enter the Chamber of Tranquility, where they are instructed to not let themselves be shaken, maintain tranquility, and be patient so that it will guide them to the light. Their patience will guide them. They stand in the chamber. A child worries that they are in last place, but Kina reassures him that there is no need for them to endure the danger first. He suggests letting the meat shield stand in front, reminding the child that a rank 8 demon guards the entrance to the second chamber, and believes that the guys who ran ahead are all stumped at the entrance. He points out a light, announcing that the trial has already begun. He begins the trial. He reiterates the instructions to not be shaken. He tells them not to be shaken. Kina smiles. He confidently states that their patience shall guide them to the light. Suddenly, Isaac attacks the manifestation, shocking Shuri, who calls him a mother asterisk cur. He tells Isaac that waiting 3 minutes is nothing. Shuri is frustrated. He yells at Isaac, while the observing one remarks that Isaac held out for 3 seconds, longer than it expected. The manifestation declares that they have failed, and those that could not be patient shall face the wrath of divine punishment. They will face punishment. Shuri and Isaac are terrified as Isaac unleashes his power. Shuri is shocked, witnessing the destruction caused by Isaac's attack. He is shocked. He wonders what's the deal with Isaac. Isaac continues to destroy the treasury, much to Shuri's dismay. Isaac is surprised to find that the golem is rank 8, wondering if it's a joke. The observing one reveals that the golem was made by one of his subordinates, a member of the 14 elite demons, the strongest of the subordinates he had trained as the Skeleton King. It was made by his subordinate. It adds that this is innate magic belonging to one of them. Isaac wonders if the golem is working under House Ashwa now, or if it has something to do with his body's presence there. He decides he needs to find out more. Shuri asks where Isaac is going, mocking the Ashwa boys for thinking they would be helpful. They encounter Nigel Sefit, the third son of the ducal house Sefit of the Red Faith. They see him. Nigel thanks them for beating the gatekeeper and tells them to get out of the way so he can enter the second chamber first. Shuri is shocked, accusing them of planning to enter first and place a bunch of traps. Nigel mocks House Ashwa for being cowardly, and Shuri accuses him of being in on it with Isaac. Nigel denies working with Isaac, but acknowledges that they all saw Isaac avoiding the traps. Shuri notices an artifact, realizing that it must have something to do with Isaac's ring. Nigel's companion suggests that they'll be able to avoid all the traps with the ring, but Nigel dismisses the idea. Isaac sits calmly, leading Shuri to question why he's so calm, and that he would never let someone steal from him without fighting back. Nigel tells them they don't need Ashwa anymore and to stay back. He declares that the Skeleton King's corpse, which not even past saints and saintesses were able to bring back, belongs to House Sefit of Red Faith, and that he, Nigel Sefit, will bring it back. He states his intentions. As Nigel walks away, a trap activates. It activates again. Shuri realizes that Isaac was baiting them on purpose. He realizes again. They find themselves in the second chamber of the treasury, with all the mines and similar traps set off. They're in the second chamber. Isaac thanks Shuri for his sacrifice, but then wonders why the other children are still following him. They are still following him. One of them, Paris Julius, the second prince of the Julius kingdom, says he definitely has divine energy. He notes that Nigel was dumb, and that the ring just looked like some antique. The observing one remarks that they've all learned of Isaac's magnificence, though Isaac doesn't need their reverence. Shuri tells them to run away, saying that the monster atop Isaac's head is more terrifying than any demon. Paris introduces himself to Isaac, expressing his pleasure at meeting the youngest lord of House Ashwa. He introduces himself. Isaac is surprised to learn that the Julius kingdom is to the east of Hela, and that their prince received a divine blessing. He thinks the kid might be useful. Shuri calls out to Isaac, and they arrive at the gate to the third chamber. They reach the gate. The gate announces that the third chamber is the chamber of rumination, and that they should demonstrate their courage and resolve. It announces again. It announces one more time. Shuri and the others decide to follow Isaac instead of Nigel, believing they will reach the next chamber safely that way. The gatekeeper tells them to defeat it and claim their honor. Isaac, remembering Shuri's words about demonstrating their courage, decides to beat the gatekeeper, thinking it's the right thing to do. He thinks he is right. He gleefully anticipates the fun. Shuri is surprised to see Isaac, realizing that Isaac is right and the gatekeepers are lying. He recalls that the first chamber was the chamber of selection, where Isaac recklessly ran ahead, and the second chamber was the Chamber of Tranquility, where Isaac didn't hold himself back at all. He deduces that the third chamber, the Chamber of Rumination, is a hint, and they mustn't attack the gatekeepers. They must not attack them. Isaac tells everyone to go over to a specific spot, confusing Shuri, who wonders why Isaac is helping them. Shuri guesses that despite being a devil, Isaac still has a Schwab blood in him, the blood of Sanuses. He thinks that even though it's faint, he must have inherited the virtue of the Sanuses. He thinks he might have misjudged Isaac. Isaac attacks the gatekeeper, leaving Shuri speechless. The gatekeeper addresses Isaac, saying that he has failed. It says it again. Isaac continues his assault, while Shuri screams for help. He screams again. Shuri realizes something is wrong, and Isaac calls him a crazy bastard. The gatekeeper comments on the familiar sight, revealing that it's a puppet made from the magic of the 14 elite demons, the lying doll. Isaac tells Shuri to teach these kids the bitter struggles of life, while still being frustrated. The children scatter in fear as the other saint candidates search for the Ashwa children. Isaac, using a rank 6 holy art of invisibility, hides with Shuri and another child, a gift from his uncle for emergencies. Paris is thanked by his companions for sharing the invisibility with them. Isaac gives Paris a ring, a seemingly ordinary ring with no discernible special properties. Paris is puzzled, questioning if his lack of experience fighting demons is the reason he can't recognize its significance. He expresses his gratitude nonetheless, vowing not to forget Isaac's kindness and promising to inform the king of his actions. Isaac, watching from afar, uses the ring to absorb the holy power from the other children, causing them to scream in pain. The observing one praises Isaac for his choice, noting that Paris had the most holy power. Shuri, confused, inquires about the origin of the observing one, as the other children gather in one place. One of the children uses a holy defense art to protect against the lying doll, who tells them to accept their punishment. Another child steps forward, urging an attack. The child unleashes a powerful blast of holy energy, but it has no effect on the lying doll, and the child collapses. A child asks what's going on, and Amon falls to the ground. Amon, lying on the ground, is confused by what happened. The lying doll continues its assault, knocking Amon down again. The doll ponders its next actions, wondering where the other children who fell for its lie have gone. Isaac, with the observing one, has absorbed the holy power of everyone on their side. They approach the lying doll and Amon, with Isaac telling Amon not to feel bad about being weak, as the lying doll stops attacking once its target is down. He explains that it's better for him to take their holy power and knock them out than for them to get hurt by the doll. Isaac is nearly finished absorbing the holy power, and a surge of energy erupts around him. The observing one is surprised, then hurt by the backlash. Kina Barrett, still hidden, spots Isaac and the observing one, recognizing Isaac Ashwa. Shuri is surprised and shocked at Kina's recognition of Isaac. Amon, despite knowing that Isaac is called a genius, is still shocked by his abilities. Kina unleashes a powerful holy spirit, surprising everyone with her ability to summon such a being at her age. Shuri is surprised by Kina's power. She wonders if Isaac led the other children into a trap like he did in the first chamber, but Isaac angrily denies the accusation. Amon defends Isaac, stating that he was only trying to help them with the trial and even showed them the right way. Isaac, however, suggests that Amon might be suffering from Stockholm Syndrome, having been swayed by their captor. Kina dismisses their gratitude. Amon confronts Kina and the others, questioning their right to criticize Isaac when they were hiding behind him and did nothing while others found the traps. They agree that Isaac is more of a saint candidate than they are. They decide to tell the adults that Isaac helped them and that Kina's group did nothing. Shuri tries to dissuade them, but they point out that they would be in trouble if it weren't for Isaac's group. The children are scared. They continue to move, heading towards the third chamber after completing the second. They are done with the second chamber. The last gatekeeper of the treasury congratulates them on completing the second chamber. It offers them a choice: take their treasure and finish the test, or face a trial to enter the third chamber. Kina tells them to answer carefully, but they are sure about the third chamber. The gatekeeper repeats the options, warning them that passing the trial will lead them to the third chamber's treasure, but failing will result in death. The children are terrified. Isaac, sensing immense mana from the gatekeeper's voice, believes it's a dragon. He confirms that failure will lead to death, but Amon and the others are determined to go to the third chamber, believing that obtaining the treasure will make them saints. The gatekeeper warns them again, but they understand the risks. They are ready to face the trial. The gatekeeper addresses those gathered to become saints, initiating the trial, which Shuri struggles with. Isaac, however, is excited, finding the trial to be simple. A statue stands before them, commanding them to worship God. The children are confused, seeing a statue of a cardinal, which tells them to show their respect to God, stating that only those who have shown their piety in front of the statue can go into the third chamber. Amon thinks it's simple, just needing to kneel and pray in front of the statue, but Isaac is immediately suspicious. Isaac is suspicious about having to kneel before the statue of the person who messed with him for years. Amon thinks it's just praying to the supreme God and proceeds to do so, kneeling before the statue. He proclaims his worship, and the statue praises him. Amon is allowed to pass, much to the excitement of the other children. Shuri, however, is shocked to see Isaac, who vehemently refuses to pray. They start moving towards the statue. Kina Barrett explains that praying is taught by the Holy See, instructing them to watch carefully. She demonstrates the proper way to worship the supreme God. Amon and another child decide to follow suit. The statue praises them, saying they are worthy of glory and honor. Amon is shocked by their actions, questioning if they are giving up and choosing death. He decides to do it as well, but hesitates. The statue questions Isaac's refusal to kneel, leading the other children to wonder if he has an issue with his faith. And Kina suggests that Isaac might be trying to get his saint candidate position taken away, knowing that it will all be recorded. He concludes that it's over for Isaac, regardless of his talent, if he has no faith. The statue calls Isaac the child of the saintess and admonishes him for acting disrespectfully, to which Isaac responds with defiance, stating he would rather die. Isaac tells it that it can kill him. The statue then starts attacking Isaac with dark energy, declaring that those who disrespect it will die. Isaac curses at the statue, attempting to destroy it while the observing one warns him of the danger. The statue is only slightly damaged, praising Isaac's attack. Isaac is surprised, and the statue declares that Isaac has passed and can now move to the third chamber. Kina and the others are shocked, questioning how Isaac could pass without praying. The observing one explains that Isaac is the only one who has the right to enter the third chamber, as he showed his faith in God. It questions if they understand, revealing that Isaac did not kneel to a statue but to God, asking if their faith tells them to bow down to idols. They are shocked, with Shuri realizing that even though it's in the form of their God, a statue is still an idol. Amon agrees, pointing out that texts say not to bow down to statues, even if they are in the image of their God. The statue commends Isaac for not losing his faith in the face of death, but Isaac tells the observing one to shut up. Kina finds the situation unacceptable, arguing that Isaac is a baby who can't even speak properly, and there's no way to tell if he refused to kneel because of his faith. Isaac agrees, saying it's just anger, but Kina insists that if Isaac has that much faith, he should have a stigmata. Isaac is surprised to learn about stigmata, a scar that appears on the body due to holy powers. The observing one confirms that Isaac doesn't have a stigmata, confusing the others, as all saint candidates should have one. Kina states that among all the saint candidates, Isaac is the only one without a stigmata, which the statue finds perplexing. Kina explains that it's because Isaac is a baby and hasn't developed one yet, but the others are still confused. Shuri angrily asserts that babies don't need stigmata, and Gatekeeper agrees, saying that a stigmata doesn't just show up because someone is great. The Gatekeeper asks if they all feel the same way and if they want to enter the third chamber, surprising them. Shuri is suspicious that they are being let in so easily. The Gatekeeper allows them to proceed, telling them to go ahead. The gate opens, They enter, surprised, but cough from the demonic energy. The gatekeeper reveals that they can now feel the demonic energy from the Skeleton King's body. It states its intention to spare those who couldn't withstand the energy, but deems them out of place. Isaac, however, is excited, finally able to sense his body. He proclaims that his body is there. Isaac marvels at the sight of his body, the Skeleton King's, lying before them in the third chamber. He never expected to see it again after self-destructing in the divine realm. The observing one is excited by the amount of mana leaking out. Amon notes Isaac's courageous, warrior-like face, but Shuri thinks Isaac has lost his mind. The gatekeeper urges them to turn back, saying it's not too late, and that they should only proceed if they can smile in the face of death like Isaac. Otherwise, they can take a treasure from the second chamber. Shuri is terrified, wondering how they are supposed to break through the demonic energy. The other children agree, wanting to go back and choose an item from the second chamber, fearing they might die. Kina, however, declares that she doesn't need treasures from the second chamber, and they will all advance into the third chamber. He also requests that all traps in the third chamber be activated. Amon is shocked by Kina's rash decision. Kina reminds everyone that no past saint or saintess was able to bring back the Skeleton King's corpse, not even Melissa. She confidently states that Melissa would never let children die, and that he must be the countermeasure she prepared to prevent their deaths. She doesn't want others to think she took the easy way out, and asks for the third chamber to be set to its normal difficulty mode, believing that only then will they have surpassed the saintess. Isaac comments that Kina also has a few screws loose. The gatekeeper agrees to Kina's request, stating that it will make it easier to find the true saint among the candidates. Amon angrily blames Kina for dragging them into this, and they are forced to continue. The children scream as they move forward, surrounded by demonic energy. Isaac is excited, noting that it's almost like the demon realm, and the observing one points out the Skeleton King's sublime body. They finally reach the body, and Isaac remarks on how handsome it is, correcting himself to say his body. The observing one notes that he must have been absorbing power slowly inside the third chamber. Amon is shocked that all this demonic energy is coming from a single hand, but Isaac clarifies that it's from his thumb, not from his hand, and that only this fragment is real, the rest is a replica. And they continue their approach. A demon suddenly appears, causing the children to scream. Kina is reminded that he asked to undo all the safety measures in the third chamber. The demon, one of the 14 elite demons and the Skeleton King's most trusted subordinates, trained by him personally, attacks them. It was captured by the papal house, and now it wonders who dares to covet the king's body. Shuri blames Kina for their predicament. Kina tells everyone to trust him, as he will make sure they all leave with the treasure. He reveals that he has studied and prepared a holy art to deal with the demon, believing the treasure is hers. Kina grins, then commands the demon to kneel. The light of the papal house shines on the demon, forcing it to obey. Kina is pleased with her success, now only needing the Skeleton King's body. He approaches the demon, questioning if it is the one who covets the king's body. Outside the treasury, the adults are concerned about what's happening inside, having lost contact with the demon familiar. They realize that the demon in the third chamber was unsealed. Shocking Rely. Count Simon speculates that the third chamber might house one of the 14 elite demons, and Rely confirms that an elite demon is present, putting everyone in danger. The elders in the monitoring chamber have gone missing after turning off the traps, endangering the children. They decide they must stop the ritual and get the children out immediately, as there's no way they can handle the demon. The gate's light intensifies, confusing the adults outside. They wonder if the treasury is opening, and are further perplexed by the intense light. They are told to step away from the entrance, as demonic energy might leak out. Cardinal Barrett is unable to sense the demon's aura, leading them to believe that the children defeated the elite demon. They speculate that one of the children must have done it, possibly Kina, who is praised for her accomplishment. Cardinal Barrett is congratulated, as Kina was the most favored saint candidate, and he smiles, acknowledging Kina's hard work. Goel is also pleased, seeing this as an opportunity for the papal house to gain more power over Ashwa. Rely is disgusted by their arrogance. The children emerge from the treasury, much to everyone's relief. Rely is relieved to see Isaac and Shuri safe. Isaac and the observing one walk out. The children emerge from the treasury, seemingly unharmed. Rely notes that they are hurt, but have no serious injuries. They wonder where the children who went into the third chamber are, and Rely remains silent. The last of the children finally come out. Amon and Shuri are called out too, with Goel rushing to Shuri's side. He embraces his son, relieved. Goel asks if Shuri is all right and not hurt. Rely is focused on Isaac. They are questioned about Isaac's whereabouts, and Cardinal calls out to Kina. He asks Kina what he's holding, and Kina is hesitant to answer where the Skeleton King's body is. Goel is shocked by the revelation, and a commotion ensues as they realize what Kina is referring to. A guard points out a wolf, which is carrying Isaac. Rely stops the others from approaching, recognizing the wolf with Isaac. He chases after the wolf, with Ashley following, calling it the young holy dragon. They recognize it as the young dragon that guards the treasury, realizing that its current form is that of a wolf, but its energy indicates it's a holy dragon. Rely notes that the matriarch had a good relationship with the dragon and invited it into the treasury, making its presence unusual. He also hears a strange slurping sound, which is coming from Isaac as he sucks on the Skeleton King's thumb. Rely realizes that Isaac is sucking on the Skeleton King's body, shocking everyone. They demand that he spit it out, and Kina is horrified. Cardinal asks if Kina gave the Skeleton King's body to Isaac, which Cardinal finds to be a poor plan. Rely defends the decision, saying that letting the host save face is a virtue a saint must have, but he is dismissed. The wolf proclaims that Isaac brought out the Skeleton King's body. Cardinal is shocked, as Kina remembers what she has seen. The demon, still under Kina's control, attacks him, unaffected by the golden holy arts. It calls them filthy trash, and advances towards the children. The demon orders them to die, and Kina screams in terror. A defense barrier is erected, surprising Kina. They realize it's a blue holy art, cast by Isaac, shocking everyone. The demon curses Isaac and continues its attack. Isaac curses back at the demon, telling it that it doesn't recognize its master. The demon is destroyed. They wonder if Isaac really brought the wolf, as a dragon wouldn't lie, and realize that Kina did nothing. Rely admits that the dragon was too dangerous, and that the 14 elite demons are too much for children, questioning why their seal was broken. The wolf reveals that Kina asked it to break the seal, surprising him. Amon confirms that Kina activated all the traps in the third chamber and forced them to go in, almost causing their deaths. They question how a child of the papal house could do such a thing, realizing that things could have been worse if Isaac hadn't taken care of the demons. Cardinal is furious, believing that Isaac beat Kina, but others find it amazing that a boy who can't even be a saint is so strong, speculating that Ashwa has been planning on rebuilding. Isaac is urged to spit out the bone, but he continues to suck on it, finding the mana delicious. Goel tries to take the bone away, but Isaac is too strong. Isaac continues to absorb the mana. Rely is amazed that Isaac has outdone himself, thinking the matriarch will be overjoyed. Henna smiles, thinking that they can finally track down the Skeleton King using tracking arts now that they have his body. Isaac continues to enjoy the bone. They try to take it away, but Isaac holds on tight. Isaac runs away with the wolf telling everyone to never see each other again. The scene transitions to a room where Henna is searching Isaac's poop for something, but she can't find it. Isaac watches as they struggle to remove the bone from his mouth. He is more concerned about what happened inside the treasury. He recalls the demon attacking him, unable to recognize its master, and Isaac absorbing its mana. The demon recognized the mana and realized it was its master. It expressed its joy, believing its world would end when its master passed away, but always knew he would return to life. It swore to serve its master, but Isaac tells it to shut up as he vanishes as he had many questions to ask. The observing one mentions that the papal house captured the demon. Isaac decides to look into it later, then notices that he is still holding the bone in his stomach. As he was offered a milk bottle, Rely urges Isaac to poop, offering him laxatives, An elder warns that they might all be executed if the matriarch finds out, even suggesting that she might cut open Isaac's stomach, though Rely doubts she would go that far with a grandchild, despite having done it to her son before. The observing one reminds them that Melissa is away on a pilgrimage with the patriarch. Isaac sees this as an opportunity to finish absorbing the mana and escape before she gets back. Goel suddenly appears, telling Rely to come with him, as the matriarch is calling for him. Isaac is shocked, wondering if Melissa has already arrived, as she's never returned so fast from a pilgrimage. He's terrified, wondering if it's because of him. He realizes that it's too dangerous, as he hasn't absorbed all the mana yet, and fears that Melissa will cut his stomach open. He panics. Goel brings in a chest full of gifts for Isaac, surprising everyone. Rely teases Goel, who informs him that they just received a voice message from Melissa, saying she's on her way back. Isaac is shocked to hear this. A messenger from the papal house arrives with a tribute, but the elders are displeased, suggesting to sell it as stolen goods. The messenger explains that His Majesty the Emperor is showing a lot of interest in this incident, and that the tribute is an apology and a sign of gratitude. The messenger believes their gift doesn't match House Ashua's tastes, but he's sure it will change their minds. He presents a medal from the Pope, claiming it will be of great help to Isaac. The elders are shocked to see the Triple Crown, a medal engraved with the Pope's emblem. Isaac and the observing one are unimpressed. The messenger explains that it's a medal for Isaac from the Pope, shocking everyone. Rely is asked to accept it on Isaac's behalf, but Isaac demands that it be given to him directly. The messenger confirms that he was ordered to hand it to Rely, not Isaac. Rely smirks, and an elder is outraged, questioning how they dare give Isaac's medal to a family member and if they are in their right mind. He explains that giving a medal to the family means that the recipient is deceased, shocking Isaac. The messenger tries to clarify the Pope's intentions, saying he simply wanted it handed to a family member since Isaac is so young. But this doesn't explain the ribbon. They realize that the papal house might not know that the sunflower is for honoring fallen soldiers, meant to be put in the coffin, and Isaac is horrified. An elder angrily accuses them of mocking the curse of Ashua, and Goel tries to calm him down, reminding him not to speak recklessly as a representative of House Ashua, as it might antagonize the papal house. He warns that escalating the situation will bring trouble to the family. Goel never knew it was possible to make them know their place by giving such a hateful gift, suspecting it to be the cardinal's handiwork, even though he's from his maternal family. He thinks that Rely won't be able to run wild now, which pleases him. Goel tells Rely to accept the gift and show gratitude, but Isaac is defiant. The messenger activates the medal, revealing a holy flame, shocking everyone. They recognize it as the holy flame, wondering who would use it. Rely is shocked to see the medal. The messenger is attacked by the holy flame, and Isaac is revealed to be the one using it, having taken the medal. A wave of shock ripples through the room as Isaac stands, wreathed in blue holy fire. The messenger, still clad in his white and gold robes, is furious. He demands to know the meaning of this display, reminding everyone that the medal was a personal gift from the Pope. He directs his accusing question at Rely. Do you intend to rebel against him? The elders step forward defensively. They scoff at the messenger's accusation, pointing out that Isaac is just a child, too young to even understand the significance of the medal, and suggest that the messenger action were on purpose. Henna, her face contorted with anger, cries out that it all happened to a kid. An elder then interjects, questioning why they are targeting a child. The messenger, now flustered, attempts to retract his earlier statements. Suddenly, Rely enters. He claims the incident occurred before Isaac could formally accept the medal, and therefore, they should pretend it was never received. Before Rely seizes the opportunity, holding up the charred remains of the medal, he suggests they should, in fact, accept the Pope's gift, even though it was melted by a mere baby's flames. A collective gasp fills the room. Henna exclaims in disbelief, while the messenger nervously questions if the medal truly melted. Realizing his blunder, the messenger tries to regain control. He clears his throat and insists he must have mistakenly brought the wrong item. demanding the medal be returned to him. Suddenly, he's engulfed in a searing blue fire. An elder, a smirk playing on his lips, mocks the messenger, commenting on how much Isaac enjoys playing. As Isachi thinks of burning the elder to a crisp, the messenger struggles against the flames. He curses, calling him "Curse you, Joshua." The elder then instructs those present to get rid of the heinous metal, expressing his relief at the situation. He adds that the matriarch should have seen the messenger's face. Turning his attention to Relai, the elder praises him, claiming it was Relai's brilliant idea to use the holy flames. Relai, clearly bewildered, looks at the elder in confusion. The elder, however, insists, pressing Relai about casting holy fire on the child. Relai deflects, subtly suggesting the elders themselves were responsible. A wave of confusion washes over the elders. One of them suddenly remembers Relai casting holy spells upon entering the relic storage. Relai defends himself, clarifying that he only used invisibility magic. Hina, at that moment, speaks for the first time. She announces that the young Isaac had been using quick strides, a high-level holy spell. The revelation sends another wave of shock through the assembled group. The discussion shifts to the legendary secret scripture, a treasure that allows the user to instantly learn and cast any spell contained within its pages. Isaac, meanwhile, mentally congratulates himself for bringing the book from storage. He acknowledges that the holy spells are weaker than the flame magic he wielded as the Skeleton King, but still finds them quite useful. An elder wonders aloud if Isaac's mother had used divine spells, but another elder quickly refutes this, stating that she wasn't a fire-type user at all. In fact, she was the complete opposite. He continues, emphasizing the sheer impossibility of Isaac's feats, comparing it to someone writing poetry without ever learning to write. He points out that even the genius saintess, Melissa, learned to read before casting her first holy spell. Isaac, feeling increasingly uncomfortable, wonders what all the fuss is about. Ashley then bursts in, interrupting the heated discussion. She exclaims that the truly surprising thing isn't Isaac's spellcasting, but his ability to obliterate the Pope's blessing. The elders immediately agree with her assessment. One of them demands the medal, intending to examine it himself. However, a frantic search reveals that it's missing. Goel, with a smug look, admits he threw it away, claiming he was simply following the elder's earlier command to get rid of the heinous metal. The elder orders others to find it. He reflects on the gravity of the situation. The Pope's medal, supposedly crafted from unmeltable metals, had been reduced to slag. He knows this information must never reach the heads of House Joshua, and reminds himself that accusations without evidence are meaningless. The scene transitions to a location west of the Joshua dukedom, a few days later. Eli, Relai's father, stands near a lake, manipulating the water with his sword. He commands his men to maintain their focus, as the mansion is nearby. Suddenly, he pauses, sensing a disturbance. Returning to the grand, imposing mansion, Eli wonders what he's sensing. He makes the alarming connection. They question if the Skeleton King is somehow manifesting within Isaac. He notes that Isaac has consumed an alarming quantity of poison, 300 bottles, as well as 500 of House Julius fruits, known for increasing affinity with holy beasts. Isaac, for his part, remembers the delicious fruit and thinks about his future plans. He believes he'll need the holy beast to defeat the Pope and the gods. He surmises that there must be a holy beast within House Joshua as well. A moment later, he's surprised by the appearance of Taranblum, the holy beast of Joshua, a massive creature of water and light. Someone tries to usher Isaac to a feast, but he's interrupted by Eli's arrival. Eli strides in, and everyone present greets him as the patriarch. Isaac recognizes him as the patriarch of House Joshua, his grandfather. However, a sense of foreboding washes over Isaac as he notices the intense survival aura radiating from Eli. Eli curtly tells Relai they need more time, emphasizing that cutting Isaac open won't solve anything. Relai, relieved, assures his father that such a drastic measure is out of the question. Eli glances at Isaac, then, with chilling finality, orders Rely to send the child to the flames. Rely is horrified and protests, but Eli questions if his son has misinterpreted something, suggesting the act of sending to the flame is a certain death sentence. Isaac is equally shocked, exclaiming that it sounds like they will eventually burn him. Rely and Goel both plead with Eli to reconsider, arguing that such a fate is too great a reward for Isaac. Isaac is incensed by this twisted logic. It's explained that throwing Isaac into the fire might allow them to retrieve the Skeleton King's body. Additionally, Isaac would likely become even stronger, gaining the blessing of the fire. Rely once again suggests either waiting more or just cutting him open. Isaac internally rails against their madness. Goel, however, vehemently opposes using House Joshua's sacred treasures, the flames and water of the temple, used for raising sanuses on a snot-nosed, incompetent infant. He smirks, thinking that anything that opposes Isaac is a good thing in his book. Rely, enraged, reminds Goel that it was Isaac who defeated the demon in the relic storage, and that even the holy dragon spoke on his behalf. Goel dismisses this, claiming the dragon must have been mistaken, and warns Rely not to push his luck. Finally, the patriarch, with a stern look, defends Isaac. Rely further asserts, citing Isaac's use of holy flames to burn the Pope's medal, challenging Goel to deny what they all witnessed. He then accuses Goel and the elders of colluding beforehand. Goel, maintaining his composure, simply states that there's no proof of any of this. Patriarch at that time show the melted metal. The narrative establishes the Pope as the sole intermediary between the heavens and the mortal realm. Objects blessed by the Pope, such as the medal made of blessed gold, are imbued with his divine power. Eli, still holding the remnants of the melted metal, is in disbelief. Isaac reflects that even when he was the Skeleton King, he couldn't have destroyed such an artifact so easily. He wonders if his new body possesses an inherently greater power. Eli reveals that he found the metal at the bottom of Lake Elisiva. Goel, shocked, questions his father about how he found it. Goel suggests to his father to look at Isaac, who melted the Pope's symbol, and how they can use this event to show House Joshua's superiority to the Pope. Rely is more optimistic, suggesting that Isaac might even be able to withstand the Skeleton King's flames. An elder chimes in, suggesting that Isaac would make an excellent Skeleton King hunter. Eli shifts the conversation, reflecting on the recent damage caused by the Skeleton King and the looming threat of his return. Isaac, internally, is puzzled by this line of discussion. The observing one interjects, suggesting the existence of imposters, both in the present and the past, and how attracting attention could be strategically advantageous. It continues, drawing a parallel to the events of 10 years prior. Rely, his voice filled with anger, recalls the Skeleton King's arrival at House Joshua and the curse he inflicted upon them. Isaac is surprised by this revelation. Rely describes how the Skeleton King invaded their home, claiming he sought to destroy the Sanus' bloodline. The observing one clarifies that the event Rely describes happened 70 years ago, not 10, and that Isaac's previous master had passed away 150 years ago. Isaac mocks the idea of a curse from an average demon being a threat. He confidently declares he can suppress any curse with his superior mana. An elder remarks on how there are many who live their lives without a single hair on their head. Isaac, his resolve hardening, vows to eliminate the impostor. The elder, however, brings up a folk notion of baldness stemming from genetics. The observing one mentions the curse, and Eli, noticing Isaac's red eyes, concludes that Isaac is also cursed. Eli then states that neither the sacred flames nor the waters will be enough to deal with Isaac's situation, leaving Goel anxious. Eli declares his intention to bestow upon Isaac a Holy Spirit. The elder is stunned by this pronouncement. Isaac, too, is taken aback, as the text explains that Holy Spirits are received, not given. Isaac thinks by this he can transcend and give the bitch-ass a knuckles sandwich. Goel vehemently protests, calling the bestowal of a Holy Spirit excessive and demanding to know what Isaac has done to earn such an honor. Isaac, growing weary of the drama, dismisses the situation. The observing one cautions that the Pope is unlikely to simply ignore such a blatant act of defiance. Eli turns his attention to Goel, sternly questioning his actions. He criticizes Goel for defending those who insulted House Joshua and for attempting to hold Isaac back. Eli reminds everyone that House Joshua is built on the principle of protecting the weak. Isaac, pleased by this declaration, smiles. Eli commands everyone to gather in the main building, declaring that he will bestow a blessing upon Isaac. A few days later, Eli questions his father's decision, wondering if he truly intends to give Isaac the blessing. Eli explains that subjecting Isaac to the temple's flames or waters, while effective against the skeleton king, would ultimately harm the child. The temple's antidemonic properties are too strong, and they would prevent Isaac from learning exorcism rites, limiting his potential to a 5th-rank cleric or even lower. Eli reveals his plan. He will let Isaac choose between the flames, the waters, or the Holy Spirit, believing this will suffice as a test. Goel, with a smug grin, thinks to himself that his father wouldn't so easily part with the Holy Spirit. Eli presents 3 marbles, red, blue, and white, to Isaac, urging him to select the white one. However, Isaac reaches for the red marble. A collective gasp of shock erupts. Goel, trying to salvage the situation, tells Eli not to be too disappointed, expressing confidence that even a 4th-rank Joshua will eventually bring honor to their name. Eli cannot believe it. The red marble suddenly bursts into intense flames. A majestic Holy Spirit emerges, radiating power. Eli, recognizing the being, exclaims in disbelief. The elder is confused, and Goel, furious, confronts his father, demanding to know why a Holy Spirit was concealed within the red marble. Eli calmly states that he never specified there was only one Holy Spirit. He elaborates on the foundational principle of House Joshua, its connection to water, and the significance of Isaac's ability to create flames hot enough to melt the Pope's gold. He admits to setting a trap within the test, but Isaac, by choosing the red marble, had chosen correctly. The Holy Spirit, now fully manifested, is enraged. It calls out Eli by name, accusing him of being insane and questioning why a being of royal rank has been summoned to the human realm. The spirit's fury intensifies, its flames growing hotter. An elder urgently calls for someone to cast a defensive spell. Goel, panicked, accuses his father of intending to burn down their entire territory. Eli calmly deflects the blame, pointing out that it wasn't him, but Isaac who triggered the events. With a sinister smile, Eli refers to Isaac as a brat. Isaac, a sense of dread creeping over him, thinks that this place might indeed become his grave. The Holy Spirit, a woman engulfed in flames, attacks. Isaac, confused, questions how a royal rank spirit appeared when he only injected a little holy power, intending to summon a medium rank spirit, and wonders what he's made of. He then wonders what he would have summoned with more effort. The observing one identifies the flames as antidemonic, flames that convert mana to holy power. The observing one comments that this will be of great help to Isaac. Observing one questions how to make Isaac submit, attacking again, causing those present to scream. The observing one notes that royal rank spirits are connected to the heavens, and Isaac can't get too close to the gods yet. It continues, suggesting all spirits are close to the gods, and urges Eli to send them back. An elder states that it's a crazy spirit even the gods gave up on. Eli says that if he had to worry about his hair color, he'd cut ties with the gods too, referencing a saying about not trusting those with dark hair. The Holy Spirit tells the humans to be silent. She questions Eli's action. Eli insists he wasn't the one who called her, pointing to Isaac. The spirit, enraged, accuses Eli of sacrificing a child to summon her. Eli denies it, finding it excessive even if his house is falling apart. Isaac laughs, finding the Holy Spirit capable and hostile towards the gods, useful as a filter for his mana. The spirit, declaring she'll see for herself, attacks Isaac, stating that if he summoned her through the subordination ritual, he'll survive. Isaac is struck by the attack. The spirit decides a peaceful ending is better, and Isaac, emerged from the flames, continues to laugh. The spirit asks if Isaac is convinced, identifying him as the one who called her. Eli offers the spirit a choice: contract with Isaac or refuse and receive punishment. The spirit scoffs at the idea of a spirit of her rank caring about punishment. She decides that since she's already there, it's better to burn down House Joshua and regain her freedom. She threatens to burn their lands, calling Isaac names. Isaac grabs the spirit, as the elders exclaiming that she shouldn't be swallowed. The spirit warns him not to swallow this time, questioning how they're taking care of Isaac, given his marble-eating habits. She threatens them, promising to pay them back. Isaac identifies the spirit's departure as teleportation. The spirit bids them farewell. The observing one is amused. The spirit, attempting to teleport, finds herself unable to, realizing Isaac is dark mana and that he swallowed the Skeleton King's thumb. Eli questions what they're feeding Isaac. The Holy Spirit is losing strength, explains that Holy Spirits are the purest beings in the Holy Faction, personifications of holy energy and weak to dark mana. She orders them to stop Isaac, but finds the situation unfortunate. She criticizes their reaction to the Skeleton King, yet they're pulling this kind of trick. Eli offers the spirit a chance to stay with Isaac and purify the Skeleton King's dark mana before sending her back. The Holy Spirit angry, feel free to stay. She expresses her frustration with the Sanus' bloodline. She decides to use Isaac to destroy the gods. Isaac, affected by the dark mana, Eli tells the spirit to stay 4 days and leave the child. Eli orders the East Castle gates opened and the child and spirit taken there, with no one allowed to enter until the purification is complete. Rely and Goel protest, but Eli silences them, refusing to hear it. Isaac swallows the spirit. Isaac realizes the East Castle is next to the annex where the mana cores are. The scene shifts to the East Castle of House Joshua. An explosion occurs. The people outside identify it as Lord Isaac, the Skeleton King's mana, and realize the Patriarch has given up. They speculate that the next in line will be Sir Goel or the Pope's bloodline. They confirm that Lord Isaac has been cursed and is no longer in contention. They wonder if Lord Isaac is really cursed. One recounts a story of a servant who went to check on Isaac and ran out terrified, claiming he had the form of a balding old man, not a skinless monster or a skeleton. They realize he's been with a Holy Spirit for 10 years. The scene opens in the east wing of Joshua Manor, where another explosion rocks the building. Ashley, startled, cries out in alarm. She, seemingly unfazed, calmly arrives, announcing his presence. Ashley rushes to him, expressing relief and concern for his well-being. Isaac, sitting comfortably and sucking on a lollipop, appears unconcerned. Ashley questions how Isaac can remain so small, despite the influence of the Skeleton King's curse. Isaac dismisses her worries, claiming he's choosing to stay small. He explains that babies absorb power more efficiently than anyone else, but there's a limit to how much power they can attain while still in their infant state. The Holy Spirit, Shalak, complains of body aches. Ashley solicitously asks if Shalak slept well. Shalak curses, irritably stating it's been busy purifying the damn baby, no matter what. She claims he was on the verge of completing the purification the previous day. Shalak, enraged, accuses Isaac of absorbing more mana. She questions how. The observing one explains that Isaac has been absorbing mana from mana cores every night for the past 10 years. Isaac smugly adds that there's an unexpectedly large amount of mana stored under the annex. The observing one praises Isaac's efficiency, noting that it was expected to take 40 years, yet Isaac accomplished it in 10. Shalak complains of a headache, having finally finished collecting the mana. Isaac boasts that he's now capable of using 6th rank holy spells, even without formal training. Ashley reassures Isaac, telling him that everything will be all right. She informs him that the Pope is mobilizing his forces. Isaac is surprised. Ashley elaborates, explaining that the Pope intends to execute all of the Skeleton King's minions who threatened the Empire, specifically the 14 demons. She adds that they'll soon be able to eliminate the last remnants of the Skeleton King's mana from Isaac. She encourages him to rest and offers him candy, also mentioning the Skeleton King's collapsed skull. Isaac, however, is frustrated, realizing the urgency of the situation and the need to take action soon. The observing one praises Shuri. Goel, accompanied by Shuri, proudly notes that his son not only skipped a grade, but is also the youngest ordained priest. He mentions that the princess will be present at Shuri's ordination, considering it a great honor for Shuri to escort someone of her status. He continues to brag about Shuri's accomplishments. Suddenly, Shuri is startled by a voice calling his name. Before he can react, Isaac throws him across the room, causing him to crash. Shuri, dazed and confused, addresses Isaac, demanding to know why he attacked him. Isaac criticizes Shuri, stating that he only managed to get into the academy because he coached him. Shuri attempts to defend himself, claiming he tried his best. Isaac dismisses his efforts, asserting that he could never have achieved so much on his own. Isaac reflects on the need to prepare for his own future, noting that most holy spells are only accessible after ordination. He then abruptly asks for Shuri's help, much to Shuri's surprise. Isaac clarifies, with an unnerving grin, that he needs everything Shuri possesses. He demands all of Shuri's belongings, including prize money and gifts. Shuri, utterly bewildered, calls Isaac a demon. Isaac brings up the impending execution of the Skeleton King's minions. He observes that they no longer seem to heed orders and appear to be awaiting their deaths. He confidently declares that he'll handle the priest ordination within the year. Shuri is initially excited. However, Shuri quickly questions Isaac's ability to accomplish this, given that he isn't even in the academy. Isaac questions Shuri laughs. Isaac explains the recommendation system, revealing that a letter of recommendation and passing a test can lead to ordination, even without attending the academy. He cynically calls it a convenient method for nepotism. He adds, however, that a recommendation requires proof of good character. The observing one interjects, calling him a complete asshole, agreeing with the assessment. Shuri elaborates, explaining that recommendations are heavily influenced by social standing. The higher the status of the recommender, the better. He laments that it will be difficult to find someone of sufficient rank to recommend him, let alone save him, and he only has a month left. Shuri confirms that the princess will indeed be attending the ordination, and Isaac grins, recognizing the opportunity. He notes that a princess holds a very lofty position in society. The scene shifts to the Joshua Manor training grounds. Eli firmly states that Isaac will not be going to the capital. Servants explain that this year is different, and Isaac needs to attend the Foundation Festival, where all the Saint candidates are being ordained. Eli is surprised. They point out that while other candidates have been making names for themselves, Isaac hasn't shown himself publicly in the past 10 years, aside from the incident in the relic storage. They express their excitement at seeing Isaac again, as he's been in the East Wing, like the Sainnesses. He clarifies that this particular ordination coincides with the princess's birthday, and therefore, the Pope himself will be present. Eli is taken aback by the Pope's involvement. He further explains that the Pope will be personally bestowing hero titles upon the newly ordained. Receiving such a title significantly multiplies one's strength, offering a substantial benefit. Goel objects, arguing that Isaac is not yet old enough for ordination. He counters that age is irrelevant in the face of talent. The two servants looked worried. Eli tells them to do as they wish, but emphasizes that they must take full responsibility for their words. Isaac is shown, calmly eating a lollipop, preparing for the future. Flames erupted violently from a wing of the Joshua Manor, sending thick black smoke billowing into the sky. From a distance, obscured by trees, a man dressed in ornate robes watched the spectacle unfold. This observer, a professor dispatched by the higher-ups, noted grimly that Isaac was indeed present amidst the chaos. He marveled inwardly at the reports. The child had somehow summoned and contracted a royal rank spirit through an exorcism, a feat that taxed even the Pope. He recognized the spirit instantly. Shalak, the infamous black-haired fire spirit, whose terrible temper allegedly barred its path to becoming Spirit King. A devious plan formed in the professor's mind. Knowing the Pope and his family coveted powerful spirits, capturing Shalak and presenting it as a gift would undoubtedly earn him significant favor. He reviewed his preparations. He possessed several specialized items, including one capable of neutralizing divine mana. His strategy was simple: suppress Isaac's inherent divine power, allowing the potent dark mana absorbed from the Skeleton King's relic to surge uncontrollably. In the ensuing pandemonium, depicted by a mental image of a wailing Isaac, he would simply spirit Shalak away. Soon after, a servant guided the professor and the two educators from the academy to Isaac's room. The educators expressed their eagerness, relieved to finally meet the elusive little Lord Isaac. As they entered, the female educator spotted Isaac in his crib, remarking how he hadn't seemed to age a day in 10 years. Isaac's crimson eyes snapped open. He turned towards the visitors, beaming with cherubic innocence and cooing a welcome, internally greeting the fools who would provide his recommendation. The sheer force of his apparent cuteness struck the educators like a physical blow. They clutched their hearts, utterly charmed. The professor, however, saw through the act, recognizing the little fox's attempt to manipulate them. It was time, he decided, to unleash the beast within the baby. He approached Isaac, reaching down and picking the child up, intending to activate his divine mana suppressor and trigger the chaotic dark energy. He channeled his power, waiting for the explosion, but nothing happened. Isaac merely blinked up at him, making an innocent sound. The professor frowned, bewildered. Why wasn't it working? He was certain he'd released enough holy mana to clash with the dark mana and cause it to go berserk. Suddenly, a tiny figure perched atop Isaac's head. Shalak spoke with intense irritation, demanding why Isaac was emitting divine mana instead of just killing the damned priest already. The professor startled, spotting the royal rank spirit right there. This was his chance. He subtly reached for the neutralizer hidden within his robes. Feigning concern, he wiped Isaac's brow, remarking that the child must be sweating from the heat. Isaac, however, caught a faint, suspicious scent emanating from the professor's hand. The baby's eyes narrowed. "Look at this little bastard," Isaac thought, instantly understanding the professor's ploy. Simultaneously, Shalak let out a pained gasp. The professor flinched, surprised by the spirit's reaction. Dark, violent energy suddenly pulsed around Shalak, who let out an agonized scream. The educators panicked, mistaking the display for the Skeleton King's mana running wild and warning the professor of the danger. The professor grinned. This was perfect. Now, he just needed to capture the seemingly crazed spirit amidst the confusion. He crushed the neutralizing item in his hand and gathered energy, unleashing a powerful attack called Agonizing Cleaver directly at the tormented spirit. The blast struck Shalak dead on, engulfing the spirit in searing flames as it shrieked in agony. From his vantage point, Isaac watched the scene with a smug grin, mentally asking the professor if he really thought it would be that easy. Just then, the doors burst open, and Raleigh and Ashley rushed in, alerted by the commotion and flames, calling out Isaac's name in alarm. Isaac, however, was holding a glowing red gem, noting with satisfaction that they now had a sufficient audience. This performance should do nicely, he mused. Closing his eyes, he began to concentrate. The swirling vortex of dark mana engulfing Shalak and licking at the terrified professor began to calm, flowing steadily towards Isaac in his crib. The educators stared, dumbfounded, realizing Lord Isaac was somehow absorbing the frenzied mana, single-handedly quelling the dangerous outburst. With a final intake, the chaotic energy vanished. Isaac opened his eyes, declaring the mana handled. He then snapped his tiny fingers, commanding Shalak to stop its display as well. Instantly, The residual flames were replaced by waves of serene, blue energy, the azure divinity unique to House Joshua. Rely and Ashley gasped, recognizing the sacred power. Shalak floated calmly in the air, momentarily stunned. The educators praised Isaac effusively, amazed that he had not only controlled the Skeleton King's dark mana, but had also calmed the Berserk spirit using the legendary Azure Divinity. Rely and Ashley whispered that it was nothing short of a miracle. Rely, tears welling in his eyes, beamed at Isaac, overcome with pride that his young charge had finally spoken, manifesting the divinity. He declared how proud he was. Isaac resisted the urge to facepalm. That was Rely's takeaway from his whole mess. Seriously? Oblivious, Rely and the educators cheered, tossing the baby gleefully into the air. On the floor, the professor groaned, utterly defeated and confused about what had just transpired. Task failed successfully, he supposed. Before he could recover, Shalak floated before him, radiating ominous power. The spirit addressed the little servant of the Church of Gold, demanding answers and asking who was behind the attack. The professor frantically denied everything, insisting he was merely visiting Lord Isaac. Shalak scoffed, pointing out his fire-resistant attire as damning evidence. With cold authority, Shalak declared that effective immediately, all fire spirits would sever contact with any priest associated with the Pope, adding with malicious satisfaction that this was purely out of spite. The professor begged Shalak to reconsider, protesting that spirits couldn't possibly cut ties with priests contracted to God, especially papal ones. Shalak cut him off with a dismissive curse, stating that ties with the gods had been severed long ago. Their rules no longer applied. Isaac grinned from Rely's arms. Shalak contemptuously ordered the professor to get out. As the disgraced professor scrambled away, Shalak turned to Isaac, acknowledging that Isaac had saved the spirit using divine mana and tamed the dark energy. Therefore, Shalak stated, while their purification contract was void, the spirit would remain by Isaac's side to repay the debt. Isaac inwardly rolled his eyes at the typical code of honor compelling such beings. The female educator, thrilled by the demonstration, announced their immediate return to the Sanctus Seds to report these miraculous events. She enthusiastically declared that a child prodigy like Isaac absolutely must be ordained. Isaac responded with a wide, almost manic grin, silently thanking them for the recommendation he had just so expertly secured. Within Eliashua's study, Rely stood attentively before the patriarch, who was seated at his imposing desk. Eli examined a recently arrived letter, announcing that the Sanctus Seds had officially approved Isaac's ordination. Furthermore, they expected the boy to attend the upcoming ceremony. Rely expressed surprise at the rapid approval, wondering aloud if Isaac's actions in saving the Joshua household members and the academy educators had expedited the process. Eli clarified that the recommendation wasn't primarily for saving people, but for the far more significant act of saving a royal rank spirit, Shalak. After such a display, Eli explained, no one could reasonably oppose the recommendation. Since ordination was functionally equivalent to graduating from the academy, Eli continued, he had administered a knowledge test to Isaac beforehand. With a hint of a smirk, Eli revealed the results. A perfect score on all 1,600 questions, displaying the marked paper as proof. Rely gasped, utterly stunned by the flawless result. Eli leaned back, expressing a measure of satisfaction. The boy could now speak and walk adequately, leaving little more to wish for. Aside, Eli mused ruefully from his appallingly bad attitude. All that remained, Eli noted, was the standard personality assessment, a test most passed unless they harbored severely immoral tendencies or outright criminal intent. Rely recalled the nature of this test, a holy spell compelling truth, and eagerly suggested they review Isaac's responses. Eli obliged. The first question asked Isaac's thoughts on the household that raised him. The answer was a blunt declaration of intent to conquer it, claiming it all as his own. Rely reacted with misplaced enthusiasm at the boy's spirit, while Eli, though slightly taken aback, conceded such ambition was expected of their lineage. The next question inquired about Isaac's plans post-ordination. The answer: bite off the heads of the gods. Eli fell silent, processing the sheer audacity. Rely read the final question regarding Isaac's dreams and aspirations as a priest of the Holy Helon Empire. The response was simple and horrifying. I'm going to destroy this country. Rely stared at the paper, his face paling in utter shock and disbelief. Clearing his throat nervously, Rely confirmed that only the two of them had seen these results. The horrifying implication struck him. If Isaac ever took another truth-compelled test after ordination, revealing such intentions, he would undoubtedly face execution for heresy. Eli slammed his gloved hand onto the desk with finality. Rely, he declared, would be ordained in Isaac's place. Furthermore, Isaac was not to leave the house in the meantime. The boy, Eli stated grimly, clearly needed some serious education first. Perhaps an understatement for someone planning deicide and treason before hitting puberty. Later, near an open window elsewhere in the manor, the familiar shadowy form of the observing one materialized, calling for its master. It inquired if Isaac had reached a decision, receiving an affirmative reply from the unseen child. A small hand gripped a dark cloak tightly. Then, Isaac, looking determined and hauling a ridiculously large sack over his shoulder, climbed onto the windowsill, announcing his intention to run away. Meanwhile, at the prestigious Roman Academy in the capital, within the Holy Spell Division, students buzzed with rumors about the upcoming ordination. Word had spread about a 10-year-old prodigy receiving the honor. They marveled at the craziness of it, anticipating a memorable graduation ceremony. Among them, a red-haired student, Nizer Sepet, let out a derisive laugh. He openly mocked the idea, scoffing that a toddler who could barely walk was somehow being ordained. When challenged by another student, Nizer insisted Isaac hadn't grown in a decade, attributing it to the Skeleton King's curse and claiming growth was impossible, glancing towards Shuri for confirmation. Nizer and another student continued their mockery, dismissing the ordination as likely honorary. Shuri listened, quietly seething at the annoying bastard Nizer, who had been quiet for a while, but was now stirring up trouble again. Nizer pressed on, sneering that belonging to the Sanus' household evidently granted privileges even to unqualified brats, calling the situation unseemly. This provoked a sharp reaction from Shuri, who slammed his hand down in anger. Suddenly, a new voice cut through the tension, coolly asking Nizer if he considered the Sancta said some kind of joke. Kina Barrett stepped forward, reminding Nizer that the individual who accepted Isaac's recommendation was none other than Nizer's own father, Duke Leon Sepet. With a smug smile, Kina remarked on Nizer's apparent foolishness in publicly insulting his father. Nizer, enraged, demanded to know why Kina, not even an academy student, was present. Kina casually replied that an invitation had been extended. Kina had been asked to mentor the graduates and serve as a holy spell instructor, a revelation that shocked Nizer and his companion. Kina then turned attention to a nervous Shuri, expressing mock concern. Kina asserted that the cursed Isaac could never truly become a priest and advised Shuri that House Joshua needed to remain stable until Shuri eventually took over as patriarch. With condescending magnanimity, Kina offered Shuri a menial position within the House of the Pope should House Joshua fall into ruin, causing Shuri to break into a cold sweat. Shuri mentally reined in his anger, deciding now wasn't the time for confrontation. He curtly brushed past Kina, stating Kina's help wasn't needed and telling Kina to worry about personal affairs before walking away. Later, in the relative privacy of the dormitories, Shuri's composure shattered. A book slammed onto the floor. He raged against the perceived injustice, cursing the rat bastards and questioning why this misfortune befell him. He lamented that Isaac's escape meant his own family wouldn't even attend his ordination, cursing the timing of the unhelpful brat. In his frustration, Shuri slammed his fist down on his travel trunk, wishing aloud that Isaac would lose all his hair like the Skeleton King. From a newly formed, swirling dark portal atop the trunk. Isaac emerged, coolly asking what Shuri had just said. Shuri screamed, utterly terrified. Stuttering in fear, Shuri instinctively threatened Isaac, asking how the child had emerged from the portal and how he had even arrived there. Isaac, crossing his arms nonchalantly as he sat on the trunk, explained he'd come for the ordination and had run away because the patriarch and Relai were attempting to prevent him. Cutting the explanation short, he fixed his attention on Shuri. Isaac suddenly produced a surprisingly heavy-looking, ornate rattle, calling Shuri a wimp and demanding answers. Eyes glowing ominously beneath the blindfold, Isaac interrogated Shuri about accepting offers of menial positions from the Pope's house. Before Shuri could properly respond, Isaac exploded, shouting, "Shut up!" and violently attacking Shuri with the rattle, enraged that trash bastards dared to disrespect the Joshua name. As Shuri cried out, Isaac furiously proclaimed that House Joshua belonged to him, and therefore, only he was allowed to insult it and drive it to ruin, a declaration that left the battered Shuri completely baffled. Standing over his victim, Isaac warned Shuri to remember this moment, declaring that he would be the one to ultimately burn down House Joshua. Shuri could only lie there, silently praying for deliverance from this utter madman. Isaac then nonchalantly told Shuri to stop being a baby, get up, and lead the way. When a trembling Shuri asked where they were going, Isaac flashed a deeply unsettling grin, announcing his plan to go fuck up the people who had been messing with Shuri. Within the hallowed halls of the Roman Academy, students milled about, Shuri nervously among them. His presence, however, was overshadowed by the arrival of a much smaller figure. Two female students noticed Isaac being carried, one remarking on who might have brought such a little child, while the other commented on the striking prettiness of Isaac's platinum hair. Before anyone could guess further, Isaac, brandishing his ornate rattle like a weapon, leaped forward with a gleeful, almost manic energy. He loudly questioned who would dare trifle with a member of House Joshua. His declaration caught the attention of a red-haired girl seated nearby, Anicaps, who turned with mild surprise. Shuri immediately tensed, recognizing Naki from the relic storage incident a decade prior. He had a bad feeling about her. He scrambled after Isaac, trying to intervene, his mind racing. He absolutely had to stop Isaac from causing a scene. Especially here, trouble could attract the attention of the Academy's Inquisition major, a fact noted with some academic interest but current personal terror. He also identified the girl specifically as Anicaps, the sister of his tormentor, Dronzer. Shuri lunged desperately, managing to grab only air as he shouted his intent to stop the child. Isaac, however, had already reached Naki's table, stopping abruptly before her. He addressed her simply as Redhead. Leaning intimidatingly close, rattle held ready, he demanded to know if she had been the one messing with Kim Shuri. Naki coolly denied bothering Shuri, calmly stating that her brother, Dronzer, was the culprit. Isaac deliberately misinterpreted her denial, declaring with a sly grin that she admitted it then, completely ignoring her correction about Dronzer. Behind him, Shuri could only facepalm at the blatant manipulation. Isaac paused, his expression shifting slightly as the observing one mentally noted a familiar energy emanating from the girl. Isaac silently agreed. It felt familiar indeed. He recognized the potent signature, the energy of one of the 5 major gods. Naki, meanwhile, finally addressed Isaac directly, acknowledging him as the subject of recent rumors. A contemptuous smirk touched her lips as she dismissed him as a cursed infant and Kina Barrett as merely hailing from the Pope's family. She confidently predicted that the Azures, House Joshua, would achieve nothing of consequence this year, just like before. She added that it wouldn't be long before the Joshuas were erased entirely from the 5 faiths. Isaac's hand tightened into a small fist. Her sheer rudeness confirmed her allegiance to one of the powerful, established houses serving those major gods. Shuri frantically tried to pull Isaac away, hissing warnings about antagonizing the House of Crimson and pleading for Isaac to just return home. Isaac brushed him off, stating curtly that he was there for his ordination and wouldn't be going back. Naki overheard and informed Isaac with smug certainty that he would never be ordained. Nizer planned to personally protest to the Pope and ensure the recommendation was canceled. Shuri gritted his teeth, cursing Nizer under his breath. Naki added that Isaac's current behavior practically guaranteed cancellation even without Nizer's intervention. Just then, a tall, hooded figure approached Naki respectfully. The figure whispered, suggesting they summon an inquisitor as a precaution. Naki sharply refused, reminding her attendant that a staggering 70% of the inquisitors belonged to their own House of Crimson. Shuri, overhearing this alarming statistic, felt a fresh wave of panic. He grabbed Isaac decisively, urging him to flee. Their escape was cut short by a piercing scream from elsewhere in the hall. A massive, dark, clawed paw slammed onto the marble floor, radiating unsettling purple energy. A monstrous spectral wolf, wreathed in violet flames, materialized with a terrifying roar, sending students scattering in panic. Amidst the chaos, Isaac looked positively delighted, declaring the arrival of his insurance. Shuri, beside him, looked like he was about to faint. Naki reacted with alarm, questioning if a monster had escaped the practice rooms, while her hooded guard moved protectively in front of her. The spectral beast lunged directly towards them. Naki seemed shocked by its sudden appearance. Isaac, however, casually held up his rattle and swung it with surprising force, intercepting the monster's lunge with a resounding thwack. The creature recoiled, whining. Isaac clicked his tongue in annoyance, complaining that the beast was late despite his repeated calls. The massive wolf lowered its head, growling submissively like a scolded puppy. Naki, witnessing this bizarre turn, began preparing a spell, calling Isaac a monster. Isaac turned his crimson gaze upon the monster and uttered a single, chilling command telling the monster, quite rudely, to get lost. He gestured, and tendrils of red energy lashed out, striking the spectral wolf, which whimpered pitifully and fled, weaving fearfully through the terrified students. The observing one mentally commented on its master's flair for the dramatic, dragging out a resting monster, beating it up, and chasing it off purely for show. Isaac merely smirked, thinking a little performance was necessary. Just as the spectral wolf vanished, a squad of heavily armored inquisitors stormed into the hall, demanding the location of the monster. Naki quickly pointed in the direction the wolf had fled, suggesting it escaped and telling them to contact the monster division. One of the inquisitors, clad in white and gold, approached Naki to ensure her safety. Shuri stiffened, recognizing the uniform of a high-ranking inquisitor. He immediately grabbed Isaac, attempting a hasty retreat with nervous laughter. But the lead inquisitor blocked their path, stating firmly that no one could leave until the investigation concluded. Shuri's heart sank. It was truly over for them. He held Isaac tightly, babbling frantically that they knew nothing, laughing like a madman. Naki suddenly intervened, calling out to the inquisitor, and telling him not to bother with useless actions. She pointed directly at Isaac, held firmly by the panicked Shuri, and declared unequivocally that the child had saved her. Isaac looked utterly baffled by this unexpected turn of events. Naki walked towards them, addressing Isaac by name, and offered a somewhat flustered apology for her earlier rude remarks. She quickly added, blushing slightly, that it didn't mean she was particularly grateful or anything, leaving both Isaac and Shuri even more confused. Nearby students began whispering, realizing the rumors were true. Isaac had saved people, securing his recommendation. Among them, a blonde girl watched with wide, intelligent eyes, murmuring under her breath, identifying the child as the one her brother had spoken of, Princess Charlotte Alicfreak of the Holy Helon Empire. Far away, back in Eliashua's office at Joshua Manor, the patriarch was engaged in a tense communication via a scrying orb with a cardinal from another house. The cardinal's voice echoed, chiding a lie, the cardinal of Azure, for persistently refusing Isaac's ordination and urging him to simply allow the boy to attend. Eli, his face grim, silenced the cardinal curtly. When the cardinal warned of the Pope's impending rage, Eli declared it wasn't his problem. His grandson would remain locked away and educated within the manor until fully grown. The cardinal argued that such confinement would cause serious developmental issues, but Eli retorted internally that Isaac already possessed serious problems. The cardinal then relayed the latest news, his voice tinged with amusement. Reports spoke of a silver-haired baby wandering the halls of the academy. Eli's eyes widened in horror and realization. Isaac! He roared for Eli. When Eli appeared, Eli grabbed him, issuing an urgent command. They were going to the capital, effective immediately. They needed to arrive by the next day. Eli protested the impossibility. Even the fastest route required a week. Eli glanced at his timepiece, grimly noting they had just under 24 hours left. His eyes narrowed with fierce determination. They were going to run. The following day dawned at the academy. Shuri stood outside a closed door, pounding frantically. He yelled for Isaac, demanding to know what he was doing, trying to fit his tiny frame into priest robes and begging him to come out, as everyone was already waiting outside. Shuri pleaded desperately, arguing that people would laugh regardless, so they might as well get it over with. A calm voice replied from within, "I'm finished." Shuri slumped against the doorframe, utterly defeated, begging Isaac to just give up and go home, his plea trailing off. The door swung open. Relai stared, mouth agape in stunned silence. Isaac stood there, impeccably dressed and radiating an unnerving confidence, simply stating, "Let's go, Kim Shuri." The final day of the Foundation Day festival arrived, and the Grand Ordination Banquet Hall buzzed with anticipation. Candidates for ordination, clad in formal attire, sat at long tables. Whispers and glances exchanged amongst them, many directed towards the conspicuously small figure of Isaac Joshua seated amongst his peers. Suddenly, an announcer's voice echoed through the hall, calling for everyone to please rise. A hush fell as footsteps sounded on the polished floor. The patriarchs and cardinals representing the 5 major houses made their solemn entrance, their imposing presence commanding immediate respect. Among the seated Ashwa contingent, Goel subtly adjusted his ornate attire, a smug expression playing on his lips. He felt a surge of confidence, envisioning himself as the inevitable successor, the next patriarch of Joshua and cardinal of Azure. Just then, a disheveled figure stumbled to the table. Relai, looking utterly exhausted. Goel raised an eyebrow, questioning his brother's tardiness. Relai, breathing heavily, deflected, quickly asking if Goel had seen Isaac. Goel scoffed, asking why Relai would seek Isaac there, assuming the boy was still confined at home. He eyed Relai's state, noting the scuffs and sweat, and mockingly asked if Relai had actually run the entire distance. Relai, catching his breath, confirmed he had, pressing Goel again about Shuri's whereabouts, assuming Shuri would be with Isaac. Before Goel could reply, the announcer's voice boomed once more, heralding the arrival of His Holiness. The assembly turned as Pope Julio Barrett processed into the hall, his aged frame draped in magnificent white and gold vestments, exuding an aura of ancient authority. Everyone bowed deeply, murmuring pious blessings as he passed. The Pope ascended the dais, settling onto the ornate throne prepared for him. From a balcony overlooking the hall, Eli Ashwa scanned the rows of candidates below, a thoughtful frown creasing his brow as he failed to spot Isaac among them. He relaxed slightly as the announcer declared the commencement of the ordination ceremony, instructing those called to step forward. Perhaps Isaac hadn't made it after all, Eli mused with a touch of relief. His relief shattered instantly as the announcer called the first name, Isaac Joshua. Eli stared, incredulous. He clicked his tongue in annoyance, wondering why they bothered calling someone who clearly wasn't present. Absentees should have been struck from the list. A clear voice responded, "Yes." Eli choked, sputtering wine from his glass in a rather unpatriarchal fashion. Both Rely and Goel jolted in surprise, disbelief warring with shock on their faces. Striding confidently down the central aisle was Isaac Joshua, no longer an infant, but appearing as a young boy, perhaps nearing his teens, clad perfectly in pristine white priest robes. Gasps rippled through the hall. "Isaac!" someone exclaimed. Eli's hand clenched, shattering the stem of his wine glass, while the long-haired cardinal beside him looked equally stunned. The announcer, recovering quickly, instructed Isaac Joshua to step forward. As Isaac moved towards the dais, Rely suddenly leaped from his seat, tears streaming down his face. He cried out Isaac's name, overwhelmed, asking when he had grown so much and marveling that he wore the very priest robes Rely had painstakingly prepared for him. Whispers erupted throughout the hall. Had the curse been broken? How could a Joshua child be so powerful? Many commented on his sudden, striking appearance. Nizer Sepet shot to his feet, shouting in utter confusion, demanding how Isaac had managed to grow so drastically. Isaac simply continued his approach, a serene, almost unnerving smile gracing his lips. Eli's shock morphed into cold fury. He saw the Skeleton King's influence, the accursed hellspawn's meddling. He snarled, questioning what the entity had done to Isaac, doubting the genuineness of the boy's smile, wondering if his grandson had been possessed. Nearby, Kina Barrett watched intently, wondering if this meant the infamous curse of Joshua was finally over. Kina observed Isaac's bearing, noting he appeared blessed rather than cursed, musing on the very definition of sainthood. Isaac finally stood before the Pope's throne. He sized up the elderly man, acknowledging the immense, beast-like energy radiating from him despite his apparent age. In the Pope's features, Isaac saw echoes of all the popes he had battled across centuries. A fleeting, violent impulse surged through him, the urge to simply slit the old man's throat right then and there. The memory of his personality test answer flashed unbidden. "Stay down on your knees, so it's easier for me to behead you." On the balcony, Eli and Rely shared a look of sheer, unadulterated panic. "He needs to be stopped," Eli thought frantically. With sudden, shocking violence, Eli lashed out, striking the cardinal beside him. "My hand slipped," Eli exclaimed loudly, feigning apology. Almost simultaneously, Rely shrieked, recoiling dramatically from the edge of the balcony, yelling about a giant cockroach as he deliberately knocked over a small table. Goel, watching from below, looked utterly bewildered by his family's sudden, inexplicable bout of insanity, though he noted the mention of a cockroach, perhaps as big as Rely's head. The announcer, flustered by the disruptions, quickly tried to regain control, calling for quiet before summoning the next candidate, Shuri Joshua. Isaac shot a sharp glance over his shoulder, realizing his family's clumsy, chaotic attempts to intervene, subtly adjusting his position as Shuri nervously began to walk forward. The Pope remained impassive, watching the proceedings. The announcer moved to the next stage, stating that the ordinands would now pay their respects to God. A buzz went through the spectators. It was time for the selection of blessings. A priest brought forth a golden bowl filled with shimmering holy water. From the balcony, Eli muttered that it would probably be the patron saint of Azure, while Rely clasped his hands, praying fervently for it to be so. Rely added nervously that surely no evil god would choose Isaac, right? Eli responded darkly that if one did, they would simply embark on a path of destruction together, causing Rely to pale further. Eli's gaze fixed intensely on Isaac below. Shuri, holding the bowl, looked uncertainly at Isaac, questioning his earlier cryptic mention of the holy water. Shuri calmly pricked his finger. A single drop of crimson blood fell, hitting the surface of the water. Instantly, the holy water erupted in a blinding surge of pure blue light, washing over the dais and engulfing the startled Pope. Goel cheered from his seat, recognizing the sign. The patron saint of Azure had come himself. Isaac observed coolly, identifying the god of light, the miserly god of pure heart that house Joshua served. Internally, However, Isaac felt only annoyance. It wouldn't have mattered which god appeared. He reached out, his blood-tipped finger brushing against the Pope's ornate vestments. The Pope's eyes snapped open, wide with shock and sudden realization. Where Isaac's blood touched, darkness erupted, thick, viscous, corrupting energy swirled outwards like spreading ink, engulfing the Pope and surging across the dais. From the balcony, Eli and Rely watched in absolute horror. Eli recognized the foul energy instantly. Before the stunned assembly, a horrifying apparition formed in the darkness. The spectral, malevolent visage of the Skeleton King, looming over Isaac with glowing red eyes. Screams of terror filled the hall. "The Skeleton King," someone shrieked. Chapter 29, Imposters and Interventions. Terror gripped the ordination banquet hall as the malevolent, spectral form of the Skeleton King solidified from the corrupted holy water, looming over Isaac. From the balcony, Eliashua reacted instantly, launching himself forward with primal fury, his eyes blazing red as he recognized the ancient enemy. Isaac himself looked bewildered by the sudden appearance of the dark energy tendrils binding him. Eli, gathering the azure divinity into his fist, roared a challenge and charged, shouting "Die!" as he lunged towards the apparition. The spectral Skeleton King effortlessly deflected Eli's attack, binding Isaac in ethereal chains and booming that it had long awaited the arrival of this Holy One. Isaac stared, utterly confused. The apparition declared its intent to destroy the Holy Empire piece by piece, starting with Isaac himself. Isaac could only wonder what was wrong with this dramatic fool. He recognized the form. It looked exactly like his previous incarnation, a realization that felt strangely repulsive. The observing one echoed his disgust, hovering nearby. It furiously questioned the impostor, declaring indignantly that its true master was far more pathetic and idiotic than this copycat, before crudely addressing the apparition. Unfazed, Isaac ignored the insult. The Pope, along with another cardinal, prepared counterattacks, gathering holy fire. They launched searing projectiles at the apparition, forcing Eli to shield himself from the backlash. He yelled for the panicked onlookers to get back as he gathered his own power, unleashing a massive torrent of azure divinity shaped like a coiled serpent, which slammed into the Skeleton King phantom. The apparition sneered, addressing the Patriarch of Azure, mocking Eli's limited power due to the curse, and advising him to stay put. Eli watched grimly, noting internally that he hadn't wanted to intervene directly, having brought the entire building down upon them as a contingency plan, his eyes glowing with power. The apparition, however, simply talked too much for Eli's liking. The skeletal figure sneered down at the chained Isaac, rhetorically asking Eli if he wanted to see the little saint die. Isaac, utterly exasperated, mentally screamed, "That's what I'm saying." The giant azure whale, manifested by Eli, opened its maw wide, surrounding the apparition and the captive Isaac. Eli grinned savagely, declaring with chilling certainty that a true saint wouldn't perish from such an attack, much to the horror of the apparition, who cursed him as an insane bastard. Isaac braced himself as the jaws of azure divinity began to close, threatening to crush him along with the impostor. The devastating attack detonated, shattering the dais and sending shockwaves through the hall. Isaac shielded himself amidst the exploding energy and debris. The Spectral King caught directly in the blast. The massive expenditure of power ripped through the banquet hall, leaving a trail of destruction. As the light faded, Goel frantically searched the wreckage, shielding Shuri and desperately asking if the attack had succeeded in eliminating the threat. Onlookers murmured in fear, realizing the Skeleton King had returned after 70 years of silence, wondering if it had been biding its time, gathering strength. Isaac, however, pushed himself up from the rubble, his clothes torn but otherwise unharmed. He knew better. "No," he muttered, gritting his teeth. "That asshole is an imposter." Rely rushed to Isaac's side, anxiously checking if he was all right, while Eli looked on with grim concern, questioning if Isaac was truly unharmed after such an ordeal. Eli weakly pointed out that the Skeleton King had called Isaac a saint. Rely gently helped Isaac sit up, asking uncertainly if the Skeleton King was truly dead now, recalling Eli's overwhelming attack. Isaac merely sighed. No way it died, he stated flatly, explaining it was merely an illusion. Several dignitaries nearby overheard, looking surprised. The observing one confirmed Isaac's assessment, adding that it felt like a shadow clone, but something was distinctly off about it. Isaac agreed, confirming the unsettling suspicion. It was using my mana. This sparked a disturbing thought. Could his mana core have been dropped somewhere, just as a piece of his bone ended up in the Saintus' relic storage? It wasn't entirely impossible. A predatory grin spread across Isaac's face. If that imposter possessed his mana core, then things just got interesting. He could simply kill it and reclaim what was rightfully his. Eli watched Isaac, his expression unreadable, lost in thought, recalling the moment just before he attacked. He realized with cold certainty that the Pope had been preparing an attack not just on the apparition, but on Isaac too. His gaze hardened as he looked towards the Pope, who was now tending to a crying child amid the destruction. The Pope himself looked shaken, murmuring disbelief. He touched the spot on his vestment where Isaac's blood had landed. He recognized the power signature, not the patron saint of Azure, but something far greater. It was the blessing of the greatest god, the one the House of Gold had revered for millennia, the entity presiding above the 5 major gods. And that supreme being had almost chosen the Joshua brat. The immediate chaos began to subside. Eli approached Isaac, who was sitting calmly near a fountain amidst the debris. Eli gruffly told Isaac to come. They were going back. He suddenly pulled Isaac into a tight, awkward hug, boasting loudly that his grandson had defeated the curse and grown handsome. Isaac mentally recoiled, wondering why his grandfather was smiling so creepily. Eli tried bribing him with candy, an offer Isaac found utterly unconvincing, comparing the look on Eli's face to someone leading him to a slaughterhouse. "Duke," a calm voice interrupted. Keena Barrett stood nearby, suggesting that Isaac shouldn't return just yet. Before Keena could elaborate, the floor beneath them violently erupted. Demonic figures, a hulking brute, a spectral wraith, and an insectoid horror, clawed their way out of the ground, screeching menacingly. Keena observed the unfolding scene, remarking that there were still matters to attend to there. Eli grimaced, acknowledging that it couldn't be helped. Isaac, however, grinned, a spark of azure divinity crackling in his hand. He declared that he didn't think they should return just yet either. Amidst the ruins, Isaac stood with Keena. Keena mentally noted the arrogant boy's sudden growth into the supposed saint. Isaac smirked, planning to make use of Keena. He boldly declared it was time to show who the true saint really was. Isaac gathered azure divinity, unleashing a brilliant wave of purification magic. The emerged demons recoiled in agony under the holy light. Nearby priests marveled at the splendid, intense light, unseen for a century. One observer questioned the use of purify instead of direct attacks. Another guessed it might prevent more demons from spawning due to its mana-cleansing properties, as the creatures continued to writhe. Isaac internally scoffed at the idea of learning holy spells from anyone, but Shalak, certainly not some fairy. He knew the truth. 6th rank purification wasn't just cleansing. It inflicted insidious area of effect damage over time, a fact he relished with a vicious grin. The demons began to cough and weaken under the sustained holy assault. Keena interrupted, dismissing Isaac's magic as insufficient and telling him to move aside. Isaac subtly gave Keena the finger behind his back, utterly unimpressed by the 1 in a billion talent using only 5th rank spells. Keena boasted that Isaac's talent couldn't rival his, preparing his own golden holy magic and lecturing Isaac on the need for powerful, multi-sided attacks. The magic fizzled slightly in his hand. Isaac struggled to contain his laughter at Keena's pompous, slightly failing demonstration. Kina demanded to know if Isaac understood that these monsters required overwhelming force due to regeneration. Isaac nearly choked, trying not to laugh out loud. This guy knew less than Jon Snow. Isaac thought Kina was an idiot, wishing Eli had dealt with him instead. Isaac coolly informed the bewildered Kina that these demons were merely bait. The main force, he sensed, was hiding nearby. Focusing his mana sense, Isaac located a small, hidden commander bug. Kina questioned what Isaac was doing with the bug, just as Isaac swiftly stabbed it with a sharp implement. The stabbed bug released dark, poisonous tendrils that instantly affected Kina and others. Isaac explained the bug's function. Slow, undetectable poisoning. Several priests collapsed, gasping as the poison took effect. Kina realized the implication. The imposter Skeleton King planned to eliminate the priests in training this way. Isaac grinned, seeing the strategy. Priests scrambled, shouting orders to find hidden bugs and administer detoxification spells. Isaac paused, confused, as Kina suddenly unleashed beams of light, rapidly destroying the lesser demons. Isaac complained inwardly that Kina had killed the bait too quickly, missing the point entirely. The observing one suggested this was an opportunity. Isaac could purify the poisoned priests and gain recognition. Isaac acknowledged the genius, if opportunistic, idea. This was indeed a great chance. However, Pope Julio Barrett intervened, his staff glowing with the power of a 9th-rank holy spell. He cast Absorb Mana, drawing the purple poison out of everyone affected. Isaac and Kina watched the display. The Pope announced the danger had passed. Nobody would be poisoned further. Isaac muttered annoyance at the unhelpful Pope stealing his spotlight. Suddenly, one remaining spectral wolf lunged, snarling about punishing Isaac for disobeying their king. Isaac braced himself, ready to counterattack, his red eyes flaring. He met the wolf's charge. The creature recoiled, stunned by Isaac's sheer presence. With a final glare, Isaac dismissed the little rascal, and the wolf whimpered and fled. Priests moved the wounded to the infirmary as order was slowly restored. Kina stared, dumbfounded, questioning if Isaac had truly chased away a monster with just a look. He clenched his fist, finding it unbelievable. That level of presence was something only the Pope should possess. Later, news spread through the empire. The Skeleton King had appeared, battled, retreated, and spoken of a saint. An official investigation concluded an illusion spell tainted the holy water bowl, possibly due to outsiders, while they investigated the bowl's origin. The Patriarch of Crimson agreed outsiders played a part, but highlighted the Empire's failing border barrier, protected by the Holy Dragon, as the core problem. Back at the Joshua estate, Isaac read a newspaper article. It blamed monster invasions and the royalty-affiliated Holy Dragon for the weakening barrier, conveniently deflecting blame from the Pope. Isaac noted the sly political spin. Goel Ashwa entered, offering smarmy congratulations on Isaac's ordination, already plotting how to exploit the situation. Rely followed. Overjoyed, Isaac could now read well enough for them to recite the Skeleton King cursing poem together. Isaac told him to calm down. Eli arrived, looking grim. He instructed Goel and Rely to leave, wanting a private word with Isaac. As the door closed, Eli focused, casting a 3rd-rank, absolute soundproofing spell. Rely questioned the need for such secrecy. Eli admitted distrust, even within his office, and wanted to ensure privacy. The topic, he stated gravely, was Isaac. Eli then voiced his chilling suspicion. He believed Isaac had been chosen not by a holy entity, but by an evil god during the ordination. Within the soundproofed room, Eli continued, stating Isaac's chosen god was certainly abnormal. A sigil never before seen had appeared. Only the Pope and the Gold Cardinal witnessed it, Eli revealed, adding that the Pope subsequently tried to kill Isaac, shocking Rely. Eli affirmed the Pope wouldn't have acted so drastically unless Isaac had chosen an evil god. Goel pondered, suggesting maybe it wasn't an evil god. Perhaps it was one associated with the faith of gold? Goel mused that the Gold House detests impurities and interference. so a Joshua choosing their God would provoke them. Eli considered this. The Pope's reaction might mean Isaac chose a God exclusive to, or perhaps even one not yet claimed by, the House of Gold. Rely thought this possible, especially given Isaac's unpredictability. He was that kind of special. Still, Rely doubted Isaac would pick a proper god, a sentiment Goel instantly agreed with. Eli tasked Goel with contacting the Pope's house to identify the god, offering a prize relic for Shuri if successful. He then declared Isaac would receive special care until his practical training began. If Isaac's test results matched the last, Eli feared the boy could become a dark priest. The grim possibility horrified Goel and Rely. They panicked, realizing the entire house could be labeled traitors, implicating everyone, even Shuri. Eli grimly vowed they must prevent that outcome at all costs. Later, Rely briefed Isaac and Shuri about the upcoming practical training. Rely reminisced about his own hazing, prompting Isaac to tell him to stop sounding like he was being enlisted again. Rely explained they'd work with upperclassmen, discover their specialties, and learn practical priest duties, with results impacting assignments and treatment. He reminded Isaac he'd contract with a god after this period. Isaac inquired about the offering ceremony, expressing keen interest, especially in the execution of the Skeleton King's minions. Rely, pleased by this apparent growth in faith, offered to explain. Isaac listened with feigned interest. Rely described the ceremony as giving offerings and celebrating, noting its personal faith aspect despite the large crowds. He argued rituals are communal acts reinforcing shared faith, getting rather carried away with his explanation. Isaac internally processed this, realizing gods and angels might attend. He hoped to meet them. He planned to tear them all to shreds. Rely, misinterpreting Isaac's intensity as righteous hostility, heartily approved, feeling relieved. He then announced the team with the best training grades gets the privilege of executing the minions, urging Shuri to do well. This implied Isaac and Shuri were a team. Isaac facepalmed. A team project? Rely encouraged them both to get good grades and achieve their dreams. Isaac resignedly agreed, seeing no way out. He mentally prepared himself. He'd have to kill a few minions and rescue the rest, promising to do his best with a cheerful facade. Rely felt reassured. Such a lovely child couldn't become a dark priest. Goel suddenly asked Isaac which god had chosen him during the ordination. Isaac feigned ignorance, claiming not to remember, only recalling a disgusting sigil that evoked absolute ruin and made him want to puke. Rely and Goel paled, confirming their fears, an evil god. They tried to rationalize, mentioning ominous sigils exist and faith matters most. Isaac nonchalantly mentioned the Cardinal of Gold wanted to see him, wondering why that piece of dash wanted him. Just then, Kina Barrett stormed in, shouting Isaac's name. Goel and Rely were stunned. Kina declared she had business with Isaac. Goel and Rely panicked, wondering why she was there and if the Pope sent her. Kina marched towards Isaac, Goel speculating it might concern the evil god. Kina grabbed Isaac's hand, bluntly stating she'd previously thought him worthless. Isaac internally cursed her apparent insanity. Kina elaborated, realizing Isaac hadn't revealed his true self during training to avoid contamination by Academy idiots. She deemed him excellent, incomparable, and wasted on practical training. She offered him a chance to train directly under her grandfather, the Pope, diving straight into the real deal. Kina invited Isaac to take her hand, proposing they behead the Skeleton King and lead the Holy Empire together. Goel was momentarily tempted by the surprisingly good offer. Isaac, however, slapped her hand away, telling her to piss off. He was doing the practical training. Kina was shocked. Goel muttered that Isaac had always been insane. Kina tried to assure him about qualifications, offering experience equal to 10 years. Isaac dismissed her with a whatever, suggesting she take Goel instead. Kina retorted they were different. Goel, insulted, cursed them both. Kina pointed out Isaac's talent, enough to repel monsters with a glare. The observing one confirmed Kina saw Isaac use intimidate. Isaac suspected she wanted to learn his techniques, making him refuse even more forcefully, reiterating that being tutored by the Pope made him sick. Kina bristled, demanding if he called her grandfather puke-worthy. Isaac started to confirm, adding he'd like to take the Pope's head, but Eli appeared instantly, clamping a hand over Isaac's mouth. Eli stated his grandson was busy, physically removing the struggling Isaac and declaring Kina wasn't welcome near their child. Kina protested, but Eli warned her Isaac's bad influence would rub off. Kina and the others stared in confusion. Isaac, muffled, vowed ruin upon the Joshua bastards. The next stage was the Pentagon exam, mandatory for all trainees. They would be tested by the cardinals of 5 faiths in order: white, gold, azure, black, and red. Passing this exam was essential to becoming an official priest. Isaac arrived at the designated hall, searching for his assigned group mates. He mused on the grouping strategy, 30 trainees of similar backgrounds. It felt like an invitation to a faction war. Shuri, meanwhile, nervously hoped his friends in the group would make things easier. Isaac, however, had his own plan. Use these upperclassmen pawns to pass the Pentagon and save his minions. He prepared a friendly facade, needing a good first impression, but was immediately confused by an order barked by upperclassmen to tie someone down. 2 senior trainees confronted Isaac, identifying him as Shuri's bully and vowing to teach him manners. They called it playtime, warning him ominously not to tell Shuri. Isaac judged them instantly. These guys wouldn't do. One offered a handshake, or rather, a shaker, while others mocked Isaac's recent infancy. The Isaac then attacked, swinging the shaker at first trainee's head. The result was instantaneous. The attacker lay bleeding on the floor, Isaac untouched. The remaining trainees stared, calling Isaac crazy. But Isaac suggested team-building exercises. Isaac grinned wickedly, agreeing they should get close. He then unleashed his own brand of purification using the shaker, leaving the group groaning on the floor. Screams echoed outside the room. Shuri arrived to find the scene, utterly bewildered. Isaac stood over the human pyramid of groaning upperclassmen, declaring it a successful team-building exercise, perhaps missing the memo about trust falls. The trainees desperately begged Shuri for help, but Shuri just awkwardly thanked them for entertaining his cousin. He then reminded Isaac frantically that the first test judged team harmony. Isaac, perched atop the pile, questioned how much more harmonious they could be. Shuri retorted this was just subjugation by a deranged bastard. Ignoring him, Shuri presented a document, a list of individuals leeching off Isaac. He explained how they'd exploited House Joshua's reputation for years. One of the pinned trainees weakly protested they offered nothing useful anyway. Isaac darkly countered that they still had limbs and fresh organs. He claimed he only wanted a healthy relationship involving equal give and take, ordering them to participate diligently. "You got that?" he asked menacingly. They hastily agreed. Isaac declared team building over and walked off. Shuri panicked about failing, but Isaac told him to follow. He had a plan. He led Shuri to a wardrobe, revealing another bound and gagged upperclassman inside. "Tada," Isaac announced. Shuri recognized him as another group member, the son of his uncle's friend, realizing the problem. Shuri mentioned finding a letter on the spy indicating he planned to quit. Isaac confronted the captive. Shuri removed the gag, asking if Nizer was behind this. The spy tearfully confessed, explaining Nizer ordered him to ruin the Joshua group by making continuous, egregious demands leveraging Shuri's obligation to listen. His earlier hostility and Nizer's desire to execute the minions himself were all part of the plot. Isaac processed this coldly. Nizer Sepet showed hostility and wanted his minions? Isaac decided Nizer needed a lesson. A few days later, Nizer furiously berated the failed spy, questioning how hard spying could be. The spy used the team-building exercise as an excuse. Nizer dismissed him, reassured by his aide that 3 loyalists remained in Isaac's group, guaranteeing failure. Still, Nizer felt uneasy about Isaac and resolved to eliminate him quickly, irritated by his father's interest. Today, Nizer resolved it would end. The Joshua bastards were out. They entered the Pentagon of Harmony. As an announcer droned on about faith and harmony, Isaac yawned. The first test was announced, a vote on team unity. If even one member voted against staying together, the whole team failed, with the dissenter reassigned. This loophole meant voting against Azure let others continue. Nizer smirked, believing his spies guaranteed Isaac's failure. An official cleared her throat, preparing to announce the results. She addressed the Azure team first. To Nizer's shock, the announcement came. They had all voted to stay together. The Azure team passed the Pentagon of Harmony. Isaac looked smugly over his shoulder. Outside, Shuri frantically called after Isaac, demanding how he convinced everyone to vote yes. Isaac casually mentioned the Cardinal of Gold, who kept looking for him. Shuri recalled Isaac's lunatic refusal, earning a death glare and prompting a hasty apology. Isaac explained he'd asked the Cardinal for the legendary golden pill as a condition for meeting him. Shuri was aghast. The Cardinal actually gave it? Isaac confirmed he did, and then simply bribed the team members with it. Shuri panicked, asking if Isaac promised the pills after the vote. Isaac clarified he gave them before, causing Shuri to despair over potential betrayal. Isaac, leaning casually on his staff, stated confidently he trusted his team. Shuri wondered if Isaac was becoming more priest-like, feeling a moment's relief. That relief shattered as the bribed upperclassmen collapsed, writhing in agony, begging Isaac for the antidote while clutching their stomachs. Isaac feigned innocence, claiming he simply had faith they wouldn't betray him. Shuri called him a lunatic, accusing him of poisoning them. Isaac admitted giving them the golden pill, but revealed its true ingredients, mostly flour, extracts of skeleton king mana and constipation medicine, a touch of human hair, and a near infinitesimal amount of actual golden pill. Basically, a placebo with extra steps. He told Shuri they'd lived easily thanks to him. It was time they paid the price. The trainees pleaded, reminding him they passed the test. Isaac relented, searching a wardrobe for the antidote since a promise was a promise. He triumphantly presented a leftover diaper. Shuri recoiled, yelling that no one keeps medicine there. Isaac offered it to the suffering trainees, who recoiled in disgust. Just then, Nizer burst in, demanding his spies back. He didn't know how Isaac swayed them, but refused to let it stand as the team jumped on him. Shuri tried to intervene, asking Nizer why he was interfering. Nizer, knocked back, recalled Isaac's words to the trainees about seeking power in need. Isaac corrected him. People save their own asses first. Everything is meaningless before death, he stated chillingly, his presence intensifying. Nizer felt a primal fear, wondering if Isaac was even human. Their confrontation was interrupted. Within the Sanctised's offices, the Cardinal of Gold granted entry, annoyed at waiting 7 days for an apprentice. On aide apologisait nervously. The Cardinal declared Isaac wasn't coming. The aide confirmed, perplexed Isaac would refuse after getting the pill. He relayed Isaac's message, sent a large piece of gold next time. The Cardinal crushed his quill in fury, ordering his aide to use everything to bring Isaac to him. Back at the dorms, Nizer stormed off, furious. He recalled his spies mentioning something preventing Isaac from clashing with Inquisitors, resolving to uncover the secret. He noticed the Cardinal's men loitering and questioned why they were near the dorms. They stammered about business, cursing their luck encountering the atheistic Red faction. The aide bluntly told Nizer, the dog of the Red, to leave, fearing trouble if his master found him meeting Azure's man. Nizer glared. Isaac appeared, asking the Cardinal's men why they were late. He needed something for the tea party. The men, thinking Isaac was easily manipulated, assured him they'd give him something later. Isaac demanded snacks for team building by day's end. Nizer seethed. Team building stole his men. As the Cardinal's men tried to leave, Nizer unleashed 5th rank repentance hell on them. He told Isaac he'd made his servants rest and now had business with him. inviting him to a fun test of faith. Shuri panicked, knowing Isaac would be scorched and could bring down the house. Nizer held up a touch-activated device, but was interrupted by a cold voice addressing Isaac Joshua. The Cardinal of Gold appeared, remarking he hadn't thought Isaac would miss his summons just for playing around, demanding if Isaac took him for a fool. The Cardinal of Gold appeared, questioning if Isaac took him for a fool. Nizer stammered, shocked by the Cardinal's presence. The Cardinal noted his surprise at seeing a red trying to take down his servant. Nizer realized with horror that Isaac was connected to Cardinal Barrett and hastily apologized. Isaac, seizing the opportunity, blamed Nizer, claiming he couldn't respond to the Cardinal's summons because Nizer forbade him from fraternizing with the House of Gold. The Cardinal and Nizer looked equally confused, with Nizer furiously denying the accusation. Nizer then questioned why a cardinal would summon a student, as it was forbidden during training. Isaac feigned bashfulness, finding the situation amusing. The cardinal, unimpressed, addressed Nizer, stating he seemed to have too much time on his hands. He claimed he'd been lenient because he knew Nizer's father, but would now assign his team extra work from the Sanctus Seds. Nizer despaired. The cardinal then summoned Isaac to his room. Isaac politely apologized, but stated he had to see the Cardinal of Red first, who had also called for him. This shocked Nizer. Isaac shrugged, saying he had plans, but would see Cardinal Barrett if conditions were better. Nizer wondered how Isaac knew he'd been summoned by the Cardinal of Red, as he'd never mentioned it. Fearing a bad review, he knew he had to leave. Nizer quickly changed his tune, claiming he was there to summon Isaac and would take him now. The Cardinal stared him down, making Nizer wonder if his impromptu plan would fail. Nizer started to backpedal, saying it couldn't be helped if Isaac had prior engagements. The Cardinal curtly told him to go. As he left, the Cardinal noted that while the House of Red wouldn't cause problems, Nizer had inconvenienced the House of Gold, promising more work for him tomorrow. Nizer was livid. He reasoned that taking Isaac to his father was worth the extra cleaning duties, but turned to find Isaac gone. Shuri informed him Isaac had gone off to sleep, needing it to grow. Nizer exploded, shouting that it was only 2 p.m. He tried to wake Isaac, who was sleep-talking about fireplaces, while the upperclassmen tried to throw Nizer out. 3 days later, Nizer was stuck mopping floors, seething with promises of revenge against Isaac. He complained about the 18-hour workdays, berated by his father for his incompetence and low grades, with even his team members complaining. He realized he needed to see Isaac to get his father's help. Believing Isaac had to show up for prayer, he decided to ambush him in the prayer room. 6 hours passed with no sign of Isaac. Nizer's teammates found him slacking, threatening him over their dropping scores. Nizer insisted he needed to see Isaac. He then spotted what looked like a stone statue of Isaac. It was Isaac himself, who gave a cheerful wave. Nizer was dragged away by his furious teammates, screaming. Shuri called Isaac evil for timing his appearance so perfectly, but Isaac just said it was fun. The observing one noted meeting the Cardinal of Red was more advantageous. Isaac asked why, feigning ignorance. The creature explained the grading scale, from king, irreplaceable, down to skeleton, no qualifications, and that Cardinal Barrett would never give them a king rating. Isaac cursed, realizing the stakes. Shuri added that if a cardinal got angry and gave them a skeleton grade, they'd be demoted. He also pointed out that Cardinal Barrett probably wanted to kill Isaac. Isaac dismissed it as nonsense. Shuri then dropped a bombshell. Isaac's mother had been engaged to Cardinal Barrett, but Isaac's father stole her away, nullifying the engagement and creating a massive feud. Isaac finally understood Barrett would want to kill him. The observing one, wearing sunglasses, appeared, startling him. Shuri advised that befriending the Cardinal of Red could keep Barrett at bay. Since the Gold team also needed to pass Red's Pentagon, a simple promise not to get a skeleton grade would be enough leverage. Isaac agreed the plan could work. Just as he considered his next move, a bloody hand covered his mouth. Shuri was confused, calling out to a now vanished Isaac. The Cardinal of Gold stood in the prayer room, reading a book. He invited the intruder in. A blast of fire erupted, and from the rubble, Isaac appeared, greeting the Lord Kidnapper. He taunted the cardinal for acting like a gentleman while sending servants to kidnap him. The cardinal simply called him a brat. Isaac sarcastically agreed the cardinal had something to tell him, but the cardinal cut him off. He stated he wanted to adopt Isaac as a son of the House of Gold. Cardinal Barrett offered to adopt Isaac into the House of Gold. Isaac was momentarily stunned, wondering if this was a new scheme to keep House Joshua in check. He questioned the motive, his mind racing through possibilities. The cardinal assured him there was no trickery, just a straightforward proposal to join House Barrett. Isaac wondered if it was because the fake skeleton king had called him saint. Ultimately, he decided their intentions didn't matter. "What's in it for me?" Isaac asked, demanding to know the terms of the deal, extending his hand as if sealing a contract. The cardinal was taken aback by the boy's audacity, but replied that the papal family could provide everything Joshua could not. Isaac laughed, stating House Joshua lacked nothing. The cardinal countered, mentioning he'd heard Joshua intended to confine Isaac. He pointed out the Vatican demanded patience and suppression of one's nature, promising that the House of Gold would not interfere and would support him in whatever he wanted. Isaac considered this, finding the offer too small unless they made him the head of House Barrett. The cardinal noted Isaac's ambition, reasoning that switching to the House of Gold would be beneficial if he aimed to become pope. Isaac remained unmoved, stating he was still part of the Vatican. The cardinal then sweetened the deal: a territory, a vault of gold, a private army, exclusive tax exemptions, a mansion larger than Joshua's, and even direct heir status. Isaac replied, "I'll consider it." Delighted, the cardinal prepared to start the process immediately. Isaac requested he keep it from House Joshua for now, and the cardinal reluctantly agreed. "I will keep it to myself," Isaac promised with a devious grin. As the cardinal left, Shuri was seen running away, screaming. He stumbled past the cardinal, shouting that he didn't hear anything as he fled. The cardinal sighed, exasperated. As he walked away, he remarked that it didn't matter if Shuri told Joshua. Nothing would change. Isaac called out, clarifying that he only said he'd think about it, not that he'd accepted. He declared he wouldn't join the papal family, even if he died. "Even if you die," the cardinal repeated, his voice low. He grabbed Isaac's robes, commenting that Isaac resembled his mother in both looks and speech. He threatened that with a single word, he could have Isaac excommunicated, ending any chance of becoming a priest, let alone a saint. With the Vatican's authority, he could ban him from the Holy Empire entirely. Isaac, unfazed, retorted that if that happened, he'd just make a country where priests and popes weren't needed. He questioned why a nation needed two leaders anyway, declaring it would be his country. The cardinal stared, speechless, asking what Isaac even was. Isaac smiled sweetly, suggesting such courage was necessary to defeat the Skeleton King. He advised the cardinal to pretend the offer never happened, for his own good. Then, grabbing the cardinal's sleeve, he admitted the conversation made him more interested in what happened at the ordination ceremony, leaving the cardinal to ponder what could make them want to adopt a rival's heir. Isaac knew the rest of the empire must be curious too. Meanwhile, at the Joshua mansion, Eli learned that Isaac had passed the Unison Pentagon. He was furious, insisting it should have failed. He lamented his own insufficient faith and stormed off. He knelt in prayer, asking the divine powers of heaven and earth to make his grandson be gone. He performed a strange, curse-like ritual, repeatedly chanting for Isaac to be gone. Benjamin Joshua, the second son, found his brother Eli, asking what had happened while he was away. He questioned when their family started using Vatican faith to curse people, and Eli just laughed nervously. Benjamin asked if Isaac was truly such a problem child. Eli vehemently denied it, describing Isaac as kind, pure, well-mannered, and smart. Benjamin wondered why their father was acting so strangely, but Eli chalked it up to worry about the upcoming Pentagons. Benjamin, unable to inherit as the second son, felt the potential heir was good news, but was still uneasy. Eli found it odd that the blessing he cast hadn't worked on Isaac, noting it felt more like a curse at this point, but was relieved it hadn't taken effect. Eli reminded him that Isaac meant a lot to their grandfather now. Just then, Leah Joshua, a Saint candidate, greeted them. She asked how Isaac passed the unison test, remarking that he shouldn't have been able to. Eli noted the papal family's excessive interest in Isaac, concluding it would be better for him to drop out and return home if the Vatican was truly after his life. Rely mused that Isaac was too outstanding for his ordination to be delayed. Because of that, Eli's dark thoughts were interrupted. Benjamin noticed a fancy envelope, asking who sent it. Eli sighed, revealing it was from their fourth brother. In the grand hall of the Joshua mansion, Eli informed his sons, Benjamin and Rely, that a letter had arrived from their brother. Rely expressed his surprise that Noel had sent correspondence. Eli's face soured as he relayed the letter's contents. His fourth son was bluntly asking when the old man planned to die and pass on the patriarch position. Seething, Eli declared that this insolence was precisely why Isaac needed to be taught some manners, unlike his useless brother. He then turned on a stunned Rely, threatening that if he doubted Isaac's capability, he would be the one to inherit the title. After a moment, Eli conceded that Isaac had at least passed the harmony test, offering a sliver of hope. That hope was immediately incinerated when the fiery spirit Shalak burst forth, squawking that the idea was complete nonsense. Eli calmly asked Shalak what was wrong. The spirit furiously reported that Isaac was going around beating up other children with his rattler. She couldn't comprehend the kind of lunatic who would use healing magic simply to prolong a beatdown. Eli dryly noted that this sounded exactly like something Isaac would do. Benjamin looked on, utterly lost, as Shalak added that Isaac had also poisoned and blackmailed his teammates to pass the exam. Just as Eli was desperately hoping the Pope's house wouldn't learn of this, a frantic Shuri burst in with terrible news. He stammered that Cardinal Barrett had made an offer to adopt Isaac as a stepson. Rely, aghast, demanded to know what Isaac had said, insisting his brother would never defect. Shuri delivered the devastating reply. Isaac had thought it was a great idea. Apoplectic, Rely grabbed Shuri, demanding to know how the Cardinal had tricked him. Shuri could only whimper that the amount of money was too much to refuse. From the side, Benjamin quietly remarked to Leah that money would indeed be the key, and she silently agreed. Eli's fury reached its peak. He cursed those goddamn dogs for attempting to steal his kin while he was still very much alive. Meanwhile, at the academy, a massive chest filled with glittering gold had arrived. The trainees buzzed with excitement, realizing it was all from House Barrett, and apparently, all for Isaac. The delivery seemed to confirm the rumors of Isaac's close ties to the Pope's family. Isaac, however, knew it for what it was, compensation and hush money. His thoughts were interrupted by another delivery. A messenger carried a flag dedicated to him and presented a letter, which Isaac immediately suspected was from his cheapskate grandfather. He opened the paper to find a childish drawing of Eli making a heart with his hands, accompanied by the message, "You're one of us." Isaac recoiled in horror, wondering why his grandfather would do this to him. Suddenly, the hall filled with murmurs. Shuri gasped, spotting a projection of Sister Leah, then panicked even more upon realizing the matriarch was present as well. Isaac's blood ran cold. He had tried so hard to avoid Melissa, and now she was here. He desperately searched for an exit. A nearby student remarked on how realistic the communication orb's projection was, startling Isaac so badly that he instinctively punched the boy, yelling that he thought they were actually there. The projection of Leah spoke, her voice echoing through the hall. She confirmed he must be Isaac, remarking that the rumors of his rapid growth were true. She then complimented him on overcoming the Skeleton King's curse. Isaac felt a surge of relief. Since it was a projection, she couldn't recognize his true identity. But her expression hardened. She leaned closer, her voice dropping as she asked why she could sense the power of Skeleton King on him. Isaac froze, a wave of pure terror washing over him. There was no way she could have sensed his soul through an orb. If she found out he was dead, his mind raced, concluding it must be from the Skeleton King's finger he had swallowed 10 years ago. As he stood trembling, Leah casually clarified that she had heard about his ordeal from Rely and knew the real Skeleton King wasn't there anyway. She added with a smirk that if he were, she would have skinned him alive and hung him by his toes. Isaac silently pondered the logistical challenge of skinning a skeleton. Leah surveyed the room, as other trainees wondered why the powerful Sanuses would bother visiting them, gossiping that they weren't meant to interfere in family matters. Her gaze landed on one of Nizer's cronies, and she announced her interest in the third son of the House of Red. She then proceeded to publicly humiliate him for his failures in the harmony test, causing the boy to collapse in a mental breakdown while his friends tried to revive him. Having asserted her dominance, Leah turned back to Isaac, stating she had a special reward for him. Isaac perked up, hoping it was money. The gift, she declared, was her ultimate skill, the powerful holy magic that defeated the Skeleton King. Isaac wanted to scream. That was the last thing he needed. The other students were awestruck by the offer of priceless god energy, while Nizer's allies fumed that this would only empower Isaac further. Seeing his chance, one of Nizer's former spies muttered that this would not do. He would not stand by and let this happen. He fell to his knees before the Sanuses' projection, shouting that he had something to tell her about Isaac. He accused Isaac of feeding them all poison to pass the harmony test, his words hanging in the tense silence. The spies sniffled dramatically, lamenting how a saint candidate could resort to such tactics. Leah's projection stared in disbelief at the audacious claim. Nearby, one of Nizer smirked, silently cheering the spy on and promising him a spot on his team if he got Isaac expelled. Leah's projection turned sharply toward Isaac. However, instead of outrage, her voice crackled with disappointment. She questioned if he thought mere poison would be sufficient for their training. She scolded him for his terrible inefficiency, declaring poison a poor tool for improving mental fortitude. The spy scrambled to change his story, quickly adding that Isaac had also beaten them until they were bruised black and blue. Leah's expression immediately shifted to one of intense interest. She then turned her lecture on admonishing him that simply hitting someone's flesh was poor training. For true growth, she instructed, he must break their bones in the future. As an apology for Isaac's shoddy methods, Leah's projection offered to break some of the spy's bones herself, causing him to scream in terror. Before she could act, Melissa's sweet voice cut in, offering to help. She smiled with unnerving cheer, boasting she could break the bones cleanly in a single try, which elicited an even more terrified shriek from the boy. Isaac quickly intervened, insisting there was no need as he would take care of it himself. He grabbed the cowering spy, whispering a reminder that he should have listened to his earlier threats. With a maniacal grin, Isaac informed the boy that he was now his personal meat shield and servant. The spy's mind fractured, concluding the entire Joshua family was insane. Later, in a private room, Leah's projection asked Isaac if he wanted to become the household head. He casually confirmed he did. She then pressed him on what he would do with the position. Without hesitation, Isaac declared his first act would be to remove the Sanuses. A horrified Shuri tried to silence him, pleading that they were needed, but Isaac simply dismissed him. He continued, stating that he would take down the Skeleton King himself, then brazenly suggested that his grandma, Leah, should give up being a saintess as well. The two women were momentarily stunned into silence. Leah recovered first, her expression turning somber. She confessed to having committed a sin no man should. In a flashback, she recalled having a perfect chance to kill the Skeleton King as a child. It was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, but for reasons she couldn't explain, she had failed to act. She believed God had never forgiven her for it. It was because of her, she revealed that the Joshua family was cursed. The only way to undo it was to kill the Skeleton King, a burden she felt she had to carry. Shuri asked what sin she had committed, but Leah only offered a cryptic smile. Melissa mused that there must have been a reason for her failure. This, Leah explained, was why she had come. She presented a small box, revealing the unique Saintess Rosario inside. Isaac knew it was a one-of-a-kind symbol of her station and eyed it with suspicion, wondering why she would give it to him. She explained she had stored her god energy inside it. hearing his offensive holy spells were weak. She advised him to use it to survive the Pentagon, since his purification spells alone wouldn't be enough. Her projection faded after promising to visit soon for lessons, leaving Isaac fuming and wishing she would never return. Melissa then prepared to leave, but paused before Isaac. She leaned in close and asked if he had a mana core. Isaac panicked. Not even the matriarch had detected it. Just as he contemplated silencing her permanently, she wondered aloud if she had been mistaken. She clarified, asking if it was the mana core from the outer building. Isaac stammered in agreement, quickly spinning a tale about trying and failing to unseal it with holy magic. To his utter shock, Melissa removed the necklace she was wearing, stating it should be able to undo the seal. Isaac's mind reeled. It was one thing for her to know about the core, but to have a key to unlock it? His inner monologue screamed, "Let's freaking go!" She admitted she didn't know if he could truly use the household's secret techniques, but she understood his desire to revive them. Changing the subject, she asked what he would do after getting rid of the Sanuses. With dollar signs in his eyes, Isaac proclaimed his ultimate ambition, to become a rich, unemployed guy. The ridiculous goal made Melissa laugh. She promised to see him after his apprenticeship was over, leaving Isaac to conclude that she was definitely not normal either. Outside, her knight waited. As they walked toward their carriage, he reminded her that the necklace was a crucial heirloom for accessing the family's secret techniques. Melissa simply replied that she knew. The knight pressed, noting it was passed down by the head and coveted by the other direct descendants. She stated coolly that if someone stole it from Isaac, he wasn't as skilled as she thought. But if he kept it, he would surely become the next household head, a far better fate than him joining the Pope's ranks. Inside the carriage, she suppressed a giggle, recalling Isaac's audacious plans. By all means, she thought, he should take the Skeleton King down. Back in his room, Isaac cackled, admiring his priceless new treasure.